Yes, hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Hopefully your week has been just outstanding thus far. We have a great live stream planned today. We're talking about Tulsi Gabbard. Yesterday we had this battle. She, of course, was there at the raid in Fulton County, FBI executing a criminal search warrant. Yesterday, the Dems lost their minds. They were out making videos. Mark Warner was out saying F this or S this or dropping profanity in his videos because that's all they've got. And now Tulsi is responding. There was a New York Times article that said she's basically Russian intelligence or something. And so we'll go through that and then see what the woman of the hour herself has to say about this, because she dropped a burner of a letter back over to Mark Warner and the others. We followed up on this from yesterday. And there's a lot of reaction about this because the president was also out with Dan Bongino yesterday. Dan is back. And he said we should be nationalizing the elections. And that caused a lot of ruckus out there. We'll piece that together. We got Harmeet Dillon. We're talking about the SAVE Act and elections. We've got that coming up soon. So we have to get our affairs in order about the elections and all of the fraud that's occurring all across America. Then we've got a Minnesota update. We had a foreign-born Biden-appointed judge called Anna C. Reyes. Yesterday, she issued an order from her court saying that Kristi Noem can't cancel TPS status for a bunch of Haitians, 350,000 Haitians. Remember, they came over after that earthquake a long time ago. That was like 15 years ago. It's called TPS, which means temporary. And so we'll go through that. We'll see what her order sounds like. It's like 83 pages. It's terrible. But we'll get into it and we'll see what else the administration is working on, because they're going to be appealing that to the Supreme Court, and we've already covered a Supreme Court case here. They're allowed to cancel TPS status. She is in violation of the Supreme Court precedent, and we'll go through that just to explain what a moron she is. Then we'll get reaction to that because we want election reform. We want the fraud ended in Minnesota, and they're working hard to prevent that from happening. So it's going to be just a beautiful stream. We're very glad that you're here and with us. Thanks for letting us warm up the tubes. Great to see everybody. We got Ray Hedricks here. What's up, Muffin Rando's in the house. Mom the fort down for us. What's up, Kevin Tweedy? CEO of Nintendo is here. Man, that's pretty impressive. Shout out. The Rubos are here. What's up? John McGarvey's here. Londo. We got Jumpin' Jeff. Boopsy, great to see you. And over on Rumble, our friends Dance Master, J-Ma, and others. It's going to be a great stream. Thanks for joining us on the day. We had a great members-only stream this morning as well. If you would like to support our work, we'd very much appreciate that on our members-only streams. We get into other things that we don't get to here, economics, foreign policy, other cases that we just don't have time for here. We have a great members-only community. We'd love to have you join us over there. And a little bit of a public service announcement out there as well. Your boy got a copyright strike this morning for covering the Alex Preddy case. And it was not a copyright claim. So if you're a content creator out there and you're a little nervous about these copyright strikes, your boy got one. So if you've got some Alex Preddy videos out there, there are copyright companies there that are buying up the licenses for those videos and then striking channels. And so be cautious about that if you're out there. Keep your eye on that. We got ours resolved. I had to contact them and work it out, but that's happening out there. So a lot of, I think, copyright claims are going to come through licensing. And if they don't like what you're saying, they're going to target your channel and then ask you to remove the video or issue a strike to your channel. So got to navigate those things. Our videos are back up. Those have not been taken down. But of course, we really appreciate you supporting our other channels, our Substack, our locals. Follow us on Rumble, of course, because these copyright strikes are nerve-wracking and you don't want to lose your channel. You get 3 of those things, you're gone. So we navigated it. We're back in business. Just wanted to share that update and a little bit of a PSA. If you've got Alex Preddy videos on your channel, in particular, that second video from that other store where they're looking across the scene, they're hitting strikes on that video. So be cautious out there. They're trying to stop the conversation from happening, but we're not going to let it happen. And we're back. All right. So now let's get to it because we have a great stream planned ahead. Tulsi Gabbard strikes back. She calls these Democrats who've been attacking her slanderous and liars, essentially. She posted a 4-page message, and this was in response to Mark Warner and James Hines. These 2 people who are on the Intelligence Committee who have no intelligence at all. And you remember Mark Warner, because we're going to come back to this, but Warner was out and he's making a bunch of videos here just screaming and shouting about Gabbard going down there. They know what they did in 2020. They don't want you to look at the records because if you look at the records, you're going to see, fraud. So we'll come back to that video. And then we're also going to see what a liar this dude is, because this was brought to our attention courtesy of Hungry Santa. But back in 2018, Mark Warner sent a letter to Ketanji Brown Jackson, the Supreme Court judge. And she was asking some criminal, in my opinion, called James Wolfe, who was working on the Intelligence Committee, for leniency because he was releasing damning information that would harm Trump. Okay, so they're all just liars and they all know what they did, which is why they're freaking out. And so Tulsi was responding to Mark Warner. Mark Warner sent her a letter. What are you doing down there? You're testing the intelligence. I want an update. Tell me. And sent a bunch of questions to her. And she said, well, how about F you? How's this? Hey, I have read and received your stupid letter, Mark, regarding my presence in the FBI investigation and the execution of a search warrant in Fannyland in Fulton County, Georgia. Now, for a brief period of time, Tulsi says, I accompanied FBI Deputy Director Bailey, the co-director with Dan, and the Atlanta acting special agent in charge called Pete Ellis in observing FBI personnel executing a search warrant issued by a United States District Court of the Northern District of Georgia because that judge found probable cause. Dun, 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 dun. My presence was requested by Trump, the president, and executed under my broad authority statutory law. I'm allowed to coordinate, integrate, and analyze intelligence related to elections, clearly, malign influence, cybersecurity, counterintelligence, and all the things. Now, we have been doing this, and the FBI is just one division of 18 different divisions that I oversee. Tulsi says, in 12 FBI field offices across the country, including Atlanta, the senior FBI official, or the assistant director in charge, is dual-hatted as my domestic DNI representative. So she has some interfacing with the FBI agents. The domestic DNI rep program was established in 2011. In fact, there was a memorandum of understanding between the ODNI and the FBI. It's been this way for a long time, Mark, dummy. Domestic reps are distributed by region, and they focus on specific domestic issues of concern or interest, including threats of critical security infrastructure. I have visited several of my domestic reps at field offices across the country, and while visiting them in Atlanta, I thank them for their professionalism, loading up those trucks with all those election records, and their great work, and I facilitated a brief phone call with President Trump. Trump hops on the phone. All these FBI agents have like boxes under their arm. Phone call? Yeah, here, put it here. Oh, hey, Mr. President. And great job. You got the files. Perfect. Now, ODNI's Office of General Counsel, the lawyers for the government, they have found my actions to be consistent and well within my statutory authorities as the Director of National Intelligence. And of course, we've talked about this many times. The DNI is kind of like the hub, and then they've got all these spokes that go out to all of the different intelligence agencies. We have so many of them. It's like 14 or something, a lot. They all have them. So she can interface with them. She says, let me address your ridiculous questions. Number one, election security is a national security issue. Yeah, can't have foreign invaders rigging our elections. Interference in U.S. elections is a threat to our republic and a national security threat. And Trump and the administration are committed to safeguarding U.S. elections to make sure no foreign nor domestic powers can undermine the people's right to determine who governs us. That's why the president tasked ODNI, and I have statutory authority that Congress already passed that enable me to do this. And I've directed, under the color of law, my observance and the execution of the Fulton County search warrant. That's why I was there. Now, as I also publicly highlighted, April 10th last year, soon as Trump came in, Tulsi is like been MVP, by the way, of all of the cabinet people, of all of the officials. Absolutely MVP, because she released a bunch of stuff that we probably wouldn't have seen otherwise about Jack Smith spying, and on and on. Now, as part of the national counterintelligence operation, we have a responsibility to investigate these things, but other people on my team were not present during the execution of the warrant, but we'll be reviewing it. Now, to preserve the integrity of our elections, Tulsi says, we have to understand, is there a foreign nexus? Are they trying to interfere? And are there vulnerabilities in our systems that have been exploited? So to enable this, it's critical that the intelligence community, that's me, work with everybody as the hub to the spokes. I got to talk to Homeland. I got to talk to FBI. I got to talk to CIA. I got to talk to NSA. In fact, in 1947, the National Security Act provides the DNI with robust authority to go do all this stuff. In fact, we're allowed to look at election voting systems, software, and registration databases. And we have, the DNI has authority and access to all national intelligence. And I can set priorities. Other sections of the law give her other powers, all very well codified. Section 6508, also the National Defense Authorization Act, says I can look at voter databases and registration records. And other executive orders have even supported that. Now, the president, back in 2018, Trump's first term, he declared a national emergency. He said that there might be foreign interference on U.S. elections and we need to investigate it. Now, the assessment must identify the nature of this, who supported it, and more. And Biden came in and extended it too. In 2022, it got postponed. Trump extended it again in 2025. It's all valid law, so stop your crying. Now, pursuant to these policies, we're allowed to investigate major cybersecurity attacks and validate infrastructure. And as I've said, there is information, Tulsi, and intelligence reporting suggesting that electronic voting systems being used in the United States have long been vulnerable to exploitation. You're kidding. That could result in enabling determined actors to manipulate the results of the votes being cast with the intent of changing the outcome of the election. We lived it. ODNI and the intelligence community, so that's Tulsi and everyone else, we're going to continue to investigate these things, and that's our job. Now, searching through intelligence and holding briefings is arduous, it's time-consuming, but we're doing it objectively with approval from Congress. And in addition, if you have any questions about it, we also got a search warrant from the office of the clerk, and it's all under seal. Now, as I have not seen the warrant or the evidence of probable cause, I can't really comment on that, but we had a search warrant, a judge signed off on it, and so if you have any questions, why don't you just let me know? Call my team at that number, sign your friend, Tulsi Gabbard. So, nice letter, and man, Tulsi fired this right back. She didn't waste any time. They were screaming at her yesterday. We didn't have to wait a week for this. She responded yesterday with a letter in response to a bunch of the attacks that were lobbed her way. One example, of course, is Mark Warner. Now, let me play this for you so I can just share with you what a liar this guy is. And it's important. I know these listening to these maniacs with the camera way too close to their corpse-like faces is like pouring acid on your eyeballs. But this is Mark Warner, and we're going to look at this document that he sent back in 2018 to Ketanji after his intelligence committee that he cares so much about was filled with a criminal. Here's Mark Warner, and we'll learn what a liar he is coming up.
Trump is attacking our basic election security. He said the quiet part out loud, where he said yesterday that Republicans ought to nationalize elections, ought to take them over. It's a direct threat to voting, not just this fall, but primary elections and others, like we may have in Virginia on redistricting. Adding to this craziness is Tulsi Gabbard, who showed up at the domestic FBI investigation, where she has no authority.
Yes, she does. She just listed it in her letter.
Took all of those cases of ballots from Fulton County, Georgia. On top of that, Gabbard had Donald Trump directly intervene in this case by
he didn't intervene. He just called and said, hey, how'd it go?
Calling Trump with the FBI agents who were part of this investigation to do a pep talk. This is counter to our law. This is counter to our principles. You know, a year ago, I didn't believe that they were really going to try to mess with our elections at a massive scale. I believe it now. We all need to do more. We all need to make sure that we vote. We all got to make sure that...
Yeah, okay. The illegal aliens are voting. They've rigged our elections for a long time. They say it's all got to go through the rigged machines. You have QR codes. You've got Fulton County that can't even properly zero out their tapes or verify their tapes after the votes have come in. The whole thing's a scam. But these people are scammers, and this is more evidence of that. Back in 2018, Trump's first term, Mark Warner and Richard Burr and Dianne Feinstein, who's now dead, sent a letter over to this judge called Ketanji Brown Jackson. She was in the District of Columbia at the time, was just a low-level judge before Biden was like, oh, she's black and woman and female, yeah, and then made her the worst Supreme Court justice we may have ever had. But they sent this letter to her, and this is so scandalous because their own intelligence committee was committing crimes, saying we are writing to seek leniency. Okay, these are senators in the sentencing of this guy, Mr. James Wolfe, former director of security for the Select Committee on Intelligence. That's Mark Warner's committee. Now, we don't seek to diminish the allegations against James Wolfe, nor diminish the significance of misleading federal agents. So the Select Committee Director of Security was lying to federal agents, something he has freely admitted to the court, but we ask that the totality of his service be taken into consideration. Now, we have all known Jim for years, both as rank and file members of the committee. We ask you to consider his long service as an intelligence analyst and civilian employee of the Senate, who's apparently a liar, according to them. Misleading federal agents, aka liar. Like many others, we were surprised and disappointed when we learned of the allegations against Jim. They're totally out of character for someone who we thought was a friend, who had been on our team for so long. He's got no prior criminal record, multiple positively adjudicated background investigations over 35 years. He did plead guilty to making one false statement to special agents. There's no indications he disclosed anything classified. He was not charged with disclosing classified info, and his plea makes no references to classified info. And so to the extent the disclosure was non-public, he released information about FISA warrants. It was information that we considered sensitive, and he's already been punished. So he has already lost much through these events, to include his career and reputation. And so don't put him in jail. As the court considers the appropriate sentence, we encourage you to examine the other options available. Thank you for your attention to this matter and your consideration, Ketanji. So James Wolfe, let's see what ultimately happened to him. Do we know? James Wolfe, he did go to prison, looks like. Served in that position for 29 years. Oh, 2 months. Great. After pleading guilty. So he probably served maybe a month of that, I would guess. Wolfe was the SSCI security director for 3 decades. He was charged with receipt and management of classified info, but then 2 months in prison, lied to the FBI. He had a romantic relationship with somebody else, and they all said, yeah, all right, so that's the guy. So he went to prison for 2 years for that, okay, for lying to federal agents. This is the Intelligence Committee. The guy ran security over there. So they're all basically liars. And Mark Warner, very upset that Tulsi Gabbard is digging into this. Now, Tulsi and the DNI, look at this background photo. Man, epic, right? New profile pic. What do you think? We like it. Thank you, Tulsi, for that. So that's over at the DNI, and she is doubling down on all of this. Matt Foldy was the guy who brought that to our attention. But the New York Times dropped this yesterday after the raid. They're all circling the wagons to all say that Tulsi's a Russian agent or bad intelligence. They've got all this classified crap that a whistleblower complaint has come in. It's super secret. No one can see it. We have to put it in a classified annex because it's so dangerous. It's shocking to the nation. Yeah, the last time they did that, you know what that was? Hillary Clinton campaign propaganda called the Steele dossier. That they said, oh, no, nobody can see it. And that was the pretext for the entire Russia collusion operation, which was all fake and fraudulent. So nobody believes these liars anymore. Now, New York Times posted this, a little bit of background on the phone call and what happened there on the scene. They say, this seizure of these records was extraordinary. Agents seized truckloads of ballots, and we're excited about that. But this was unusual, said the New York Times. Behind closed doors, Tulsi, the director of national intelligence, met with some of the FBI agents, members of the field office in Atlanta. Wow. Government officials were meeting with government officials. Wow. They could not say why Gabbard, who also appeared on site, was there, but her continued presence has raised eyebrows and caused the Democrats to flip out. What occurred during the meeting was even further outside the bounds of normal law enforcement, they say. No, it's not. The president addressed the agents on speakerphone, asking them questions as well as praising their work on the inquiry. Now, the supervisor of the squad, which investigates the allegations of corruption, were all there. One official said the call was short, perhaps just a minute, and compared the conversation to a pep rally or a coach giving a halftime speech. In a letter to lawmakers, Tulsi, we just read it, responded, said, I've got a lot of authority and you don't. Trump personally ordered Gabbard to go to Atlanta and coordinate her actions with Andrew Bailey, the remaining deputy FBI director, after Dan left. Now, even for a president who was radically transformed, White House spokesperson said, Trump pledged to secure America's elections, and he has tasked the most talented team of patriots to do just that. Trump has full confidence in his entire team. And Gabbard's spokeswoman, called Olivia, said she has a vital role in protecting infrastructure. says Trump's directive is to secure our elections. That was very clear, not even controversial. And DNI Gabbard has and will proudly continue to take action within her authorities alongside our agency partners to ensure the integrity of our elections. FBI is declining to comment. They're very upset about this. Todd Blanche is out. I've got clips of him. And the story goes on. Then we get to Warner, who's all crying about this, and we've already seen his lib tears. Now, here's more. Kevin Moncla, remember him? He's been fighting hard out there in Fulton County. We've covered a lot of his work. Election investigator, sharp dude, filing documents out there, bringing us the truth. He said, perhaps the president asked Tulsi to go to Fulton County to ensure that the FBI was doing what they were supposed to be doing, trust but verify. Now, this is reasonable when one considers that the special agent in charge of FBI down there in Atlanta, Paul Brown's the guy's name, he asked a potential target of the criminal investigation, not the clerk with custody of the records, to voluntarily produce evidence like poll tapes and voter tally records with no deadlines. This is basically an embarrassment. He's no longer in that position because this is what he sent. Okay, so this is Paul Brown. Somebody's like, you need to go get these records. He's like, ugh. Well, I really want to continue to play this video game, so let me just bang this out real quick. So he opens up a Word document. He puts 15 words in there. He says, Dear Director Nadine, this is the extent of his effort. It is requested by the FBI that you produce voluntarily records related to the elections, paper ballots, ballot envelopes, voter tally records, batch tally sheets, tabulator poll tapes, and documents related to missing voter records, including missing tabulator poll tapes. POLE, like a flagpole. Oh, that's the FBI. Okay. So what a poll tape. Like we're going to go pole vaulting. So not a poll, POLL. This is an FBI agent called Paul Brown. So, cut him some slack. Production of these documents can be made in person and we'll be collecting it by the agents. He should have put another bullet point in here that says, any other documents and evidence of criminality. It's just like, did you guys commit any other crimes? You want to just voluntarily give that to us? It's basically just a token letter. It's not even serious. That went right into the garbage, right into the shredder. And Paul Brown's like, I'm a great FBI agent. He's going to go get the poll tapes. So that's what's going on over there. And that's why he can't be in charge of this. This is why the search warrant came out of Missouri. The whole friggin' state under Fannyland is in big trouble, as we're starting to see. So what happens when you ask for the records? Well, you don't get it. Even if the Senate asks for the records, you don't get it. And they just sent another request over to Brad Raffensperger, that goober Secretary of State, who said Trump told him to find the votes, which never happened. So he's a liar. If you listen to that phone call in context, okay, they pull his words right out of context. We've seen this a million times. The BBC did this, where they took the beginning of his J6 speech, literally the beginning, cut out 40 minutes or whatever it was, and then said, fight like hell. Cut the whole thing out, right? And Trump said march to the Capitol and kill everyone. Because they just make it up. Raffensperger, Trump was talking about the threshold in order to bring a claim. You can't file an election lawsuit if you have 5 votes that you're upset about, unless you lost by 5 votes. If it's, you lose by 11,000, you got to at least, to bring a sufficient claim, say we've identified at least 11,000 or 12,000 in this case that are bad. That allows us to sue. The lawsuit stops the certification process and everybody should know what's happening. We're suing. Yeah, we're like the major candidate. We're going to sue. You're going to certify the election, so on and so forth. And that's all it was. We've got the votes. We've identified them. That's all we have to do. We don't have to go find. I'm not telling you to go change 11,000 votes. We just have to come up with the threshold amount in order to sue. So yesterday, Raffensperger, this liar, he said that he's not going to give any more records over to the state Senate. So back in Fulton, they passed another resolution. They said, turn over the records to the DOJ. He said, we can't because it's going to violate Georgia law. And we're so worried about sensitive information being spread around. Here is the clip, courtesy of the Atlanta People. And here's what it sounds like.
The Secretary of State vows to defy a state Senate resolution and refuse to turn over voter information to the Trump administration, saying doing so would violate state law. Channel 2's Richard Elliott live now at the state capitol, where Senate Republicans, Richard, passed a resolution urging him to do that.
Yeah, Senate Republicans passed that resolution urging Brad Raffensperger to turn over voter data, including Social Security numbers. Now, Raffensperger insists doing that would violate state law, and he says he won't do it. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger insists turning over voter data to the Department of Justice is against the law.
That this office will not violate state law. And state law is very clear that we are not allowed to turn over the voters' complete Social Security number, day, month, year, of your birth.
An hour later, the Senate passed a resolution urging Raffensperger to turn over that voter data that includes Social Security numbers. Just last month, the Trump administration filed a lawsuit demanding Georgia turn over that data, insisting the federal government has a right to it to ensure states have proper voter registration and voting lists. Columbus Republican State Senator Randy Robertson believes it doesn't violate state law.
And I think reading over Georgia law, it does encourage that this information is shared with other states, other territories within the United States, and federal agencies.
But Atlanta
It's
Democratic...
weird. So why is Raffensperger reading the law in a way that prevents transparency? State senators say, no, it's valid. It's the federal government. Like, if I submit a request to Georgia, I'm like, I want everybody's socials. They'll say, you're Rob. We're not giving you crap. Get out of here. I'd say, oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm just Rob. This is the federal government. These are federal elections. You're sending somebody into Congress. We want to validate your roles so that we don't think that you're just rigging congressional seats, for example. So it's part of the law already is that we can go and ask for their records. They've done that. Harmeet Dillon is coming up. She's going to explain it. But over there, even Raffensperger, who's a so-called Republican, just doesn't want to comply because he knows, man, he was at the helm when the rigging was occurring, and he doesn't want to get busted. So here's this other lady. We can't give the records, socials, and so on. Can you redact the first 2 boxes of the socials and just give us the last 4? Can you just give us a date of birth so we can validate this is a real person and corroborate it, cross-index it with our registry and our social security numbers to make sure illegal aliens aren't voting in the elections?
State Senator Kim Jackson says that's just not true.
Georgia law prevents this type of data from being passed on or handed over to the DOJ or any agency, quite frankly, that cannot guarantee the safety of that data.
It's the federal government. They already have that data, presumably. Is it safeguarded? Do they have the Social Security Agency that is leaking like a sieve? Well, I mean, it does. It does all the time. We got hacks all over the place. So, I mean, in that regard, you could say, well, but that's the cost of doing business. It happens to states all over the place. And you should have a presumption of regularity for the federal government. They already have the entire Social Security Agency that runs up there.
The resolution carries no weight of law. It's merely a suggestion one Raffensperger has no intention of following.
For them to introduce and want to pass a resolution for us to violate the law just flies in the... These are supposed to be...
It's not a violation.
Lawmakers, not lawbreakers.
The Senate says it's valid. And Raffensperger, if he was on board and with accountability and transparency, then he would say, oh, okay, well, the Senate just gave me lawful justification to disclose the records, but he doesn't want to do it because he knows he's going to get caught with his pants down and probably go to jail. So he's freaked out about it. Now, the Georgia GOP, they also came out with a statement. They said yesterday was the first in a series of announcements regarding the future of how we will conduct elections in Georgia and reflects the recognition by our elected officials of the respectful and persistent activism of grassroots Georgia Republicans, saying the Georgia Republican Party will be actively engaging with our partners in the General Assembly in the coming weeks to realize the goal of transitioning, not that kind, from electronic voting to hand-marked paper ballots. We don't want the fake QR codes. We don't want the digital, boop, 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 sign it. No signature validation really even is happening. We believe that the 2026 legislative session is the best opportunity since the Dominion machines were instituted to finally get away from a method of voting that has lost the confidence of a large percentage of Georgia voters and replace it with a simple, tried and true method that has been implemented with success in over 70% of the country, which seems pretty obvious that they would go that way. But if you have hand ballots and you don't have this black box of a voting machine, then you can't rig the votes the way that you'd like to do that. So they really don't want to do that. Mark Warner screaming about this. We saw that somebody on his team has now pleaded guilty to lying to federal agents on the Intelligence Committee. And Todd Blanche was also having a conversation about this with Dana Bash. Svetlana, who's awesome over on X at Real S. Lakova, reminds us that her former husband, Jeremy, they're divorced now, says he was Obama's CIA chief of staff, one of the 51 liars on the laptop letter. And Todd Blanche was out explaining how the law works to Dana.
Earlier this week, the FBI went into the elections office in Fulton County, Georgia, to seize 2020 ballots, voter rolls, scanner images, and the president told reporters, quote, they got into the votes. You're going to see some interesting things happening. What interesting things is he talking about, and why was he so involved in an FBI and DOJ raid?
Rigged election, and because he's the president.
Well, just because he said that doesn't mean that he's involved. I don't believe he was involved. This is a criminal grand jury investigation, and I can't comment on it beyond what you just said, which is that there was a search warrant that was authorized by a federal judge, by a magistrate judge in Atlanta, that allowed us to go and seize those records, and they have been seized by the FBI as part of an ongoing criminal investigation.
He said interesting things are happening, so it sounds like he was briefed on it.
Well, the raid itself was pretty interesting.
I don't know. I'm not around when the president's briefed or not briefed. What I said is that this is a criminal investigation, so it's a tightly held, as it must be under the law. It's a grand jury investigation, and that's how we're proceeding.
What are they investigating?
As you know, we can't talk about specifics of any grand jury investigation. I will tell you, as I said on Friday, as the president has said, election integrity is of the highest importance to the American people, hopefully to everybody in this country, Democrats and Republicans alike. And so we are doing everything we can to make sure that we have free and fair elections.
Okay. And as you well know, that when it comes to Georgia, claims of voter fraud there, because they got the 2020 ballots, have been debunked over and over.
No, they have not. Where are those 300,000 ballots that were basically not scanned and missing? Where'd those go? Yeah. Lots of questions there. Todd Blanche having to deal with her. It's like a lot of work. But Caroline Leavitt was also out today. And, of course, the media continuing on. Why was Tulsi there? Because she's smart and she's going to bust all of you scammers.
Is Tulsi Gabbard involved in a domestic law enforcement search in Georgia?
Tulsi Gabbard has been tapped by the President of the United States to oversee the sanctity and the security of our American elections. She's working directly alongside the FBI Director, Kash Patel. This is a coordinated whole-of-government effort to ensure that our elections, again, are fair and transparent moving forward. I don't see anything wrong with the President tasking a cabinet member to pursue an issue that most people want to see solved. Maybe you don't, but I know many Americans do want to make sure our elections are protected, and that's what Tulsi Gabbard is focused on doing.
Is there something specific that the president has concerns about?
Election fraud.
To ask the Director of National Intelligence to go down to Fulton County.
I just explained the president's concerns with voting in this country, and it's something that he wants to see solved for future elections, and I think that's something all Americans can get behind.
A lot of patience with these people, Todd Blanche and Caroline. Hard not to just say, are you dumb? Are you stupid? I just answered that question. What's wrong with you? So she didn't do that. Obviously, that's why she's in that position and I'm not. But the president was also out over the weekend after the raid and was asked about this at the premiere of Melania. And it's a great film. I highly recommend you see it. If you're interested in behind the scenes activity, it's a good film. Here is the president.
Mr. President, what was Tulsi Gabbard doing at an election center in Georgia today?
She's working very hard on trying to keep the election safe, and she's done a very good job. And they, as you know, they got into the votes. You got a signed judge's order in Georgia, and you're going to see some interesting things happening. They've been trying to get there for a long time.
Will you be pulling back immigration enforcement agents out of Minnesota?
We want to keep our country safe. We'll do whatever we can to keep our country safe.
So you're not pulling back?
No, not at all.
Sir, Mr. President, what are your expectations for the box office?
American News. Nice to see you, sir. Nice to see you. Tonight is about the First Lady. Yeah. No offense to you, I'm not going to ask political questions. I'm going to talk about this amazing woman and this amazing film. We're going to see you two interact like never before, I heard from the director.
I think so. You are going to see that. I'm not sure I'm thrilled with that. That's all right. Now it's very good. I got to see it for the first time the other night. It's really good. Glamorous, very glamorous. We need some glamour.
We do.
In the country. So.
Well, you're bringing that back. What do you want the country to know about your amazing wife, our amazing First Lady, that 99% of this fake news never tells the country or the world?
Well, she's a very serious person, very brilliant person, actually, and speaks many languages, but that's the least of it. She's doing a great job. She's very popular.
And let me finish this.
The people of the country really love her.
Brett and John told me that she's very influential, more than most folks might think, because she's so private and reserved. How true is that? How much are you talking to the First Lady when it comes to policy and things? Not about Barron and family, but about the country.
Great influence. She's really a historian in a true sense. She knows a lot about the history of a lot of different countries, especially this one. And she's very influential. She's somebody that I count on. You know, I speak to a lot of people, and I listen to some, and I don't listen to others, but she's very influential. You'll see.
Yeah, amazing. So Melania's amazing, Tulsi's amazing, and what I did a bad job of connecting the dots on was this article here. So we were asking about Mark Warner, this Democrat lunatic, and how he's so concerned about rigged elections or whatever. And the truth is that his security guy was the guy that was leaking information about Carter Page in 2013. Okay, so that's the missing connection there. Carter Page, of course, on the Trump campaign. They spied on my campaign, that guy. Watkins denied that Wolf was a source of classified info when they were dating. He was, sleeping with some journo. And she says she disclosed the relationship to her editor. She's like, I'm banging the guy on the Intelligence Committee. That's where I'm getting all this information from. I'm a journalist. It appears one focus of the FBI probe was a BuzzFeed article published in 2017 in which she reported that Russian spies tried to recruit Trump advisor Carter Page. Where did that journalist get that? Carter Page, of course, all of this was a pretext to the Russian collusion hoax that dogged the entire first term. We had to deal with it. This is the same Intelligence Committee. This guy was the director of security up there working for Mark Warner. Mark Warner then sent a letter over to Ketanji, and then she gives this guy 2 friggin' months in jail, prison, and then she gets nominated to the Supreme Court. The indictment described an incident in which Wolf alerted another reporter in 2017 that he had served Page with a subpoena to testify. FISA warrants, all this stuff supposed to be under lock and key. After the story ran, Wolf, the director working for Mark, texted her, said, "Good job. I'm glad you got the scoop." He used the same messaging app with a third reporter, maybe he's banging all of them, of communicating with a fourth reporter. He's like, "Hey, I've got some top secret information. Want to go out for a coffee?" He allegedly denied those contacts to federal agents because he's a liar. Okay, so the Intelligence Committee is filled with liars. That's why they're so freaked out, because they know Tulsi's going to come in there and bust them. We can't wait to see the results. Now, we got more, because here is the president. Trump now causing the left to freak out. He said the word nationalize in reference to elections, and they're not happy about that because they thought they were going to nationalize the elections and kind of eliminate any ID requirements, eliminate any citizenship validation, and make sure that signatures didn't really have to match and you can vote wherever the hell you want. Everybody gets a mail-in ballot whether you want it or not. They wanted to jerry-rig the entire system so that they would never lose again, just like what happened in California. But Trump was on with Dan Bongino, and he said, we need to nationalize the voting. And unfortunately, we have some squishy Republicans like John Thune who says, no, we can't do that because the Dems are going to do that to us. And we should let the states continue to run their elections. Bunch of reaction from Mike Johnson, and the polls are showing that actually Americans across the board, not even controversial, want voter ID. But the left doesn't. Why? Because they want fake votes. So here's the president. This kicked everything off. He was on with Dan Bongino. Welcome back, Dan. And here is what it sounded like.
These people were brought to our country to vote, and they vote illegally. And amazing that the Republicans aren't tougher on it. The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. And we have states that are so crooked, and they're counting votes. We have states that I won that show I didn't win. Now you're going to see something in Georgia where they were able to get, with a court order, the ballots. You're going to see some interesting things come out. But, you know, like the 2020 election, I won that election by so much. Everybody does it. They put a woman in jail, Colorado, put a woman in jail, a wonderful
Tina
woman.
Peters.
72 years old, had cancer. Because she was a voting inspector. She was in charge of a voting area.
Yeah, and remember when Jenna Griswold deployed SWAT teams to go change all of the election machines like days before the election? Literally change them. Because their BIOS passwords got hacked. Because they're so dumb. They just posted them on the internet. Here's the system, the admin password to our entire election system. So then, in violation of all the validation rules, right? If you're going to have a machine that's validated to perform a certain function, then you open it up and you manipulate it, and then you close it and you say it's the exact same as it was before under prior validation, you know, testing and accuracy. I think they call them T and C and things. And you validate it. Once it's validated, you don't mess with it again because then you have to revalidate it. That's not what happened in Colorado. She went out and rigged all of the machines. I don't know what she did to them, but she definitely adjusted all of them, and there were no repercussions for that. In fact, not even a blip in the media on that. Here's more of Trump.
And she saw boxes of votes come in. So she went over to check it, and they put her in jail for voter manipulation, and she's still in jail. And they better let her out fast.
They better.
And they're suffering a big price, Colorado. They have this woman in jail who's 71 years old and probably has cancer. She's sick. And they put her in because she challenged somebody that was dumping ballots into a box, okay? And they didn't put them in jail. This was during Biden's term. The worst president in history. And we had some bad ones. I mean, look, Barack Hussein Obama, I call him the Great Divider. Right. People couldn't stand him. You mentioned his name, they go crazy. They start booing the hell out of him.
He's
we
terrible.
had some really bad ones. I mean, Jimmy Carter wasn't exactly the greatest. Jimmy Carter didn't exactly have the hit on Venezuela that I had. Remember, his hits, they always turned out to be a disaster. Right. He went out, he had a hit. The helicopters were crashing into each other, the hostages and everything. That's why Ronald Reagan won the election. It was so pathetic. But we do it right. We've got the greatest military. I built the military. You know that in my first term. I built the military, even though they gave a piece of it away, but it's a lot, but it's still a piece compared to what I built. We have the most powerful military. And my attack on Iran with, you know, Operation Midnight Hammer, where we wiped out their nuclear threat, which they would have had a nuclear weapon within a month, and we knocked it out. And our attack on Venezuela was, unbelievable. And the nice thing about Venezuela, we're getting along great now with the government. We talk to them every single day. We took 50 million barrels of oil. It's on its way right now to Houston to be refined. And we're going to help them a lot, and we're going to benefit by it also. It's going to be great. It's going to be an amazing place. You know, it was a great.
And we also have their director of their version of the CIA in federal custody. That's the same guy who wrote a big letter that we read here that said, oh, yeah, we're rigging your elections. Maduro is responsible for that, too. Maduro's in custody. So is that other guy. And hopefully they're spilling their guts about what everything they did and how they did it. But while all this is happening, of course, the Republican senators just can't help themselves. John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, now rejects the president's call. He says, well, the Dems tried to do this, and so if we do it, then they're going to do it to us. Okay. He said it's harder to hack 50 election systems than it is to hack one, but he does support voter ID requirements. I don't know that Trump is saying that the federal government runs the elections for all 50 states. I don't think he said that. But we do want federal rules that are broad, that go across all of the states, that say you cannot vote if you're an illegal alien. You have to have an ID to vote. You have to vote on a paper ballot. We're not doing QR codes. We're not waiving signature requirements. We're not doing drop boxes or any of the garbage that we saw back during COVID that resulted in Joe Biden getting the most votes ever. They think we're so dumb. And many people on their side are dumb. They just say Joe Biden won. There's no evidence of it, like Dana Bash. So he'd rather, John Thune apparently, have a bunch of the blue states just hack themselves, essentially, and allow illegals to vote and not check signatures and have people like we saw in Fulton County in Georgia registering to vote illegally. We just played the clip from the other senator there, walking around to various locations and showing you the registered address and it's a homeless shelter, or it's a UPS store. You register to vote, your address is at a UPS store. Hundreds of people at those locations, thousands of people across other locations, all rigged. And they're sending people to the federal government. So how can we not have rules around that? They can run their state elections. If they want to run Fannie Willis through a separate set of, you can use tiddlywinks or whatever, text in a vote for Fannie. Yeah, text Big Fannie. I support Big Fannie. You can do that for your state elections, but we're not taking your rigged senators, John Ossoff and the Reverend Raphael. We're not going to do that. You guys have to follow the actual laws. We don't want illegal aliens voting. We don't want duplicate ballots. And so follow the law. But John Thune says, no, they can do that. As long as it's all diversified, like decentralized hacking, he's fine with that because they're hacking themselves. So John Thune threw cold water on that. He showed up. Trump, of course, was on Bongino's podcast. And he said, we want to take over. We should take over the voting. He said the Republicans should say, take over the voting in at least as many as 15 places. We ought to nationalize the voting. We have states that are so crooked. And again, I don't know what the exact explanation of that is. Like federal agents go in and run the whole election. I don't know if that would work. But a national standard for feds who are coming into Washington would be perfectly appropriate. He says, well, that's a constitutional issue. I don't support that. I'm not in favor of federalizing elections, but you got to be a citizen to vote, he said. And again, nobody really knows what Trump means. And so that's why it causes so much virality. He said, by the way, you know that they were going to do this too. They were going to go the opposite way. So for the Republicans to say that, no, we can't do this because the Democrats will do this, they've already tried to do it. We had a couple people who were in the Senate who were the speed bump against the Democrat takeover, and they're not there anymore. Joe Manchin is gone. Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona, gone. Soon as they come in, if they get both houses in the presidency, they will federalize the elections. They will eliminate the filibuster. They'll do everything they can to attack our side. They've already done it before. We don't have to speculate. We've got a history of this over the last 4 years, unless someone was in a coma. I can't remember that. Republicans strongly push back against other counterparts, and we're really trying to get election integrity passed. And the SAVE Act is working through. And we'll, of course, see where that one goes. But it's a big battle over there in the Senate. Mike Johnson was out today. Here's what he said about nationalizing, federalizing elections. The talk of the town.
Follow up on elections. The president says that he wants Republicans to nationalize elections. Do you agree with him? And do you have confidence in how elections are conducted right now, heading into the midterm?
We have thoughtful debate about our election system every election cycle and sometimes in between. We know it's in our system. The states have been in charge of administering their elections. What you're hearing from the president is his frustration about the lack of some of the blue states, frankly, of enforcing these things and making sure that they are free and fair elections. We need constant improvement on that front. I don't know what the ultimate solution is going to be. I'm not going to get ahead of the negotiations here, but I think that is something that's going to be a continuing theme here. It's something that we'll continue to push, and we hope the governors will insist upon that same thing as well. In some of the states, like in California, for example, I mean, they hold the elections open for weeks after Election Day. That's just crazy. One thing that bothers so many people. We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on Election Day in the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost. In no series of ballots that were counted after Election Day were our candidates ahead on any of those counts. It looks on its face to be fraudulent. Can I prove that? No, because it happened so far upstream. But we need more confidence in the American people in the election system, and it's essential. And everybody, no matter what party you're in, should agree with that. The mass mailing of paper ballots or mail-in ballots and all the other irregularities that have haunted us over the last couple of cycles, we need to tighten that up. Now, the red states have done a lot of good work in that front, but it's the blue states that I'm frankly concerned about. So we'll see how the law is modified and what's changed, but I hope we can get consensus to get that done. Yeah.
All right, Mike Johnson saying, yeah, that's a big problem. And we saw it all over the place in 2020. We went to bed. Trump was way in the lead. Then we have a water main break in Fulton County. Oh, no, they have to stop counting. Takes a little bit longer. All of a sudden, Joe Biden wins by 11,000 votes. Amazing how that works every time. All in favor of the Democrats. Strange. So, of course, the truth is we, as Americans, want voter ID. We have voter ID for everything. You can't buy a beer without one. Can't get on an airplane without one. Can't open a bank account. Can't do anything without validating your ID, except vote in federal elections, because who cares in those incidences? But we do. All of us do. And this is what we've been saying for a long time. I think most of the country, truthfully, is really sick of illegal immigrants and illegal votes and paying for it all. And they want action on this. And if we can start delivering results on this, we're going to get the benefits of this population that wants to see action on it. Here is CNN's Harry Enton explaining just how thorough the American people favor voter ID, saying, we agree with Nicki Minaj. 83% favor voter ID, 70% of Democrats and Republicans, and 75% of Americans across races. Black, white, even the Latinos and the Latinxes are in on it. It's not even controversial, so just do it.
So voter ID, just so people understand, is the idea that someone shows a photo ID when they go to vote, when they go to cast their actual ballot.
Oh my gosh, it's like
there's
a couple of toddlers
discussion
talking
right now about needing a passport or a birth certificate to register to vote, but the polling is all on voter ID showing an ID to vote.
Showing a photo ID to vote. And the American people are with Nicki Minaj, because what are we talking about here? So take a look here. Favor voter ID to vote. Look, I got all this polling on the screen going back since 2018. You'll notice on all of it, it's all north of 75%.
All of it.
76%, 76%, 76%, 81%, and then 83% in the last year of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj. They favor photo ID to be able to vote.
What about by party? What's the party breakdown?
Yeah, normally you might expect, hey, there'd be a big divide by party with Republicans really for it and Democrats really against it, but not really here. I mean, just take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. You got 95% of Republicans, pretty much all of them, but even 71% of Democrats favor photo ID to vote.
Wild.
So again, Nicki Minaj.
Little surprising on the Democrat side.
And what you see is that the American people, actually, it's not really all that controversial. The American people are with Nicki Minaj, whether they are Republican or even if they are Democrats. We're talking about 7 in 10 Democrats agreeing with Nicki Minaj that you, in fact, should show a photo ID to vote.
What's the racial breakdown?
Okay, what's the racial breakdown on this, right? Because I think a lot of people make the argument.
Is it only white
people? Of color, non-white Americans have a harder time procuring a photo ID to vote. But even here, take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a...
Wow, amazing. So that's something that the parties should pass overwhelmingly, right? Because they respond to the will of their constituents. We're a country... This is a representative democracy, a democratic republic, okay? We have representation. Our representatives are looking out for us. They do what's good for us. They enact our will, right? No, they don't. They just enact power for themselves. And this stuff like this should be resounding. It should be overwhelming. Even the Latinos want it. So we should do it. And you need ID for everything. And thank you, chat, for the assistance. You need it for a gym. You needed to buy cough syrup. You needed to open accounts online. You need it for everything except voting in America. Can't get on an airplane without an ID. Can't rent a home without an ID. But the illegals don't really need that because we fly them around for them, like that 5-year-old and his illegal alien father from Ecuador who broke into our country. Gave him a free ride. And they get all the benefits and privileges that citizens never get. So here's John Thune. We're paying attention to him, saying he might be backing off the SAVE Act. We better not see that, Johnny boy. Here's what he had to say out here today.
Let's listen here.
Try to outlast the Democratic minority under current rules. Do you have any expectation that you can succeed with that, given the enormous difficulty of doing that? In fact, the previous majority has not been able to.
Right. Well, you know, I guess, and I would just remind people that the coin in the realm in the Senate is floor time. There's a finite amount of it, and we have a lot of things we have to do. There's a housing bill that's awaiting action, hopefully a market structure bill, possibly permitting reform, farm bill, highway bill. You can go right down the list. Russia sanctions, there are a whole bunch of things that could be teed up for action on the floor of the Senate. And so you have to make some judgments, and the conference will have a conversation about that. I've committed to that we will talk about that idea and determine whether or not what the conference's views are about it and how they want to proceed. As I said, we will vote on the SAVE Act, but exercising or triggering a talking filibuster has ramifications, implications that I think everybody needs to be aware of. So we will have those.
Great. Farm bill, sanctions, Russia, blah, blah, blah. All that's important there, John, but it's all irrelevant if we don't have actual elections and we're not governing ourselves. Then you guys can just stay in power forever and do whatever you want. Maybe that's why they don't want to do anything on the SAVE Act.
Discussions, but that's obviously ties the floor up for an indefinite amount of time with not only unlimited debate, but also unlimited amendments.
All right, rather we had the Senate majority.
All right, so that's John Thune. Not a lot of confidence out of him. You remember this clip back from 2021 when Kamala was asked about this? Hey, Kamala, do you support voter ID? She's vice president at the time. Gonna run for president soon. And in the Melania movie, not to spoil anything, but they have some images of her. She does not look happy at all. It's epic. It's a lot of fun. So here is Kamala saying, unfortunately, rural Americans. So if you're a rural American, it's almost impossible for you to photocopy your ID for registration or anything like that because there's no copy machines in rural areas.
Is agreeing to voter ID one of those compromises that you'd support?
I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean.
What?
Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't. There's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are.
Everybody. Okay, we're not singling out Latinxes or black people or anybody of any group. Everybody provides voter ID. Figure out how to get an ID and then use it to register. It's not that complicated, but she is just very nervous about this. She needs all of those people to just get their ballots in so that she can steal the election. Didn't work out for her, though. Kamala lost and is a total failure. But then we have Harmeet Dillon, who is out, and Harmeet is explaining what they're working on. She's over at the Civil Rights Division, and she says this is a big problem. She's suing a bunch of people. We've covered a bunch of lawsuits. 14 different states, it sounds like, are in compliance. But a bunch of other states have been sued. There's HAVA, the Help America Vote Act. There's NVRA, whatever that stands for. And they say the feds can go validate your rolls. You're electing candidates to federal government, to Congress. We want to make sure that your lists are valid. Here's Harmeet explaining what the latest is on this front.
Right. So I think this is pretty straightforward. I'm surprised the amount of controversy it's created, but under the Help America Vote Act and other federal statutes, states have an obligation to keep their voter rolls clean. This is a basic concept. It applies to the integrity of our federal elections. And, a lot of states are behind in doing it. They don't use all the tools appropriate to do it. And that decreases confidence in the public. And I'm not saying this is all states. I'm saying this is many states. And so what you have is millions of ballots floating around in the mail that may be duplicates or dead people or people who aren't citizens, none of whom are entitled to vote.
Yeah, and they are like mandatorily delivered to your home. Once you register, you also register to vote. Get your driver's license, also register to vote. So you can move out of the country. And even if you're dead, you keep getting ballots delivered to your house. I've experienced that personally. Somebody else's ballot coming to my house. If I was a disgusting person, I would fill it out. But I'm not. But they are disgusting people, and that's what they do.
In federal elections. So what we're doing is helping states clean up their voter rolls. And I'm happy to say that we have voluntary compliance now from 14 states.
Nice.
I think we're in the final stages of getting that from an additional 4 states. We have states that are not, we haven't quite sued them yet, but that's coming this week and next week. And then we have 24 states and one district, the District of Columbia, that I'm currently in litigation with to get their voter rolls. And those cases are in various stages. Some are moving forward, some are heading towards appeal. And we are going to keep marching forward until we either get all the voter rolls or we take this case all the way up to the Supreme Court, because under the 1960 Civil Rights Act, the Attorney General is entitled to review and inspect this data. Now, some of the goofy responses that I've gotten from secretaries of state have included, oh my goodness, this is highly confidential Social Security information. We can't possibly give that to the federal government. I mean, John, that's just silly, because the federal government, of course, issues the Social Security numbers, and people routinely give it out on a daily basis when they go to the doctor and they go to the DMV, et cetera, et cetera. That's very silly. And also, a lot of these states that are not giving the government the voter roll data, they freely give it out to liberal groups so that they can use it to chase votes and voters in a targeted way. So that's kind of two-faced to do that. Now, Georgia is one of the states where we have multiple lawsuits going for the voter rolls, but also for those Fulton County ballots. It was an unusual situation in which there was litigation there, and so Fulton County had preserved those ballots. But now one of my colleagues in the DOJ has also gone in and executed a criminal search warrant after getting a magistrate to sign off on probable cause. And so, generally speaking, John, criminal cases take precedence over civil cases in our federal system of justice. And so we're going to figure out the logistics there with the court and with our colleagues and see what those ballots show. I think it was highly unusual. A lot of things that happened in the 2020 election in the swing states, as you mentioned, I was involved in some of those as a volunteer. And so we're going to see what we see, and whatever the evidence shows. I think it's important for the American people to know what happened in Fulton County and in Georgia, and to prevent gross errors or malfeasance from happening again. I think that's just important for the integrity and confidence of the public in our elections. And my final point on this is, in the rest of the world, they don't vote this way. I mean, we like to laugh at the rest of the world being backward or what have you. Countries, the entire Brexit vote in the UK was conducted on a single day, and they got the results after, a couple hours after the polls closed. Weird. They're just these paper ballots, and they don't send ballots in the mail that can be picked up by other people or voted. They don't allow people to self-identify as American citizens. That's ludicrous.
They vouch. They allow you to vouch in Minnesota. You can show up with 8 other dudes from Somalia and say, oh, they're with me. Yeah, no, they're all with me. It's Muhammad, and Muhammad, and they're all here. That's Ahmed, though. He's here, too. So we're all here from the same household. And in Minnesota, they're like, welcome aboard, Mohammeds. Here's a ballot for you. Here's a ballot for you. Everybody gets a ballot. You don't even have to vouch for somebody. That's how insane our stupid system is. And so shout out to Harmeet Dillon for staying on this. Hopefully she unblocks Viva soon enough and delivers truth on what's happening there in Fulton and elsewhere. We're going to keep our eye on this one. Now, we're not done yet. Let's turn our attention to Minnesota, where a lot of this fraud is taking place. Supreme Court, here we come. That comes from Tricia McLaughlin. She, of course, is with Homeland Security, and she's responding to the judge who just invalidated the cancellation of TPS status for 350,000 Haitians. The Haitian earthquake was like 15 years ago, but they're still here temporarily for 15 years. And Kristi Noem came in and said, enough of that, okay? TPS status is canceled. But Judge Anna C. Reyes says, no, it's not. And she, of course, is a Joe Biden appointee judge. She's an LGBTQ historic woman. Yeah, amazing. And they shoved her in there, even though she was born in Uruguay as a child, traveled around, became a naturalized citizen in the United States, then gets the bench, and then reverses all of the administration's priorities every chance she gets. But hey, at least she's the first Latina, which is very, very exclusive. It's Latinx. You should be more inclusive, Wikipedia. And the first openly gay judge. Wow, amazing. In Washington, D.C. Wow, amazing. So historic, incredible. And she's got a picture with her dog. Dogs are cool. He probably wants to get the hell out of there, I can imagine. So she issued this order that now said 350,000 Haitians can continue to live here under TPS status. And why? Because Kristi Noem is a racist. That's literally her whole argument. So they're going to be appealing this, taking it all the way up to the Supreme Court, says Tricia. Of course, there's the Court of Appeals and other things, but the Supreme Court has already ruled on this in an interesting fashion. We'll come back to that, but this judge is going to be, I think, reversed aggressively. She says, this is lawless activism, and we will be vindicated on it. Now, Haiti's TPS was granted following an earthquake that took place over 15 years ago. It was never intended to be a de facto amnesty program, yet that's how previous administrations have used it for decades. Temporary means temporary, and the final word will not be from an activist LGBTQ plus Latinx judge legislating from the bench who was born in Uruguay. And more from Tricia. Here's what she said on with Fox today, saying that this will be appealed. And we're going to go through the decision. It's a big, fat, disgusting, ugly decision, 80-something pages. We'll hit the highlights of it. But the administration is taking it up, and so we'll be here to cover that too.
About another thing, and that is temporary protected status for Haitians. And a judge yesterday said that the Department of Homeland Security is wrong in what they're trying to do. He said that Noem's national interest analysis focuses on Haitians outside the U.S. or here illegally, ignoring that Haitian TPS holders already live here, and legally so, and she ignores altogether the billions Haitian TPS holders contribute to the economy.
Legally, okay? Everybody's here legally because Joe Biden brought him in here without any basis for it. Everybody was an asylee. Everybody was a refugee. Everybody fit into some category because they didn't even check. You say my papusa business is under attack. Okay, is the government attacking you? No. Oh, it's just like street level crime? Yeah, that's basically it. Gang violence. Oh, well, come to America. You're a refugee now. What? We have to take every single person who's a victim of crime into America just because some stupid judge or some law somewhere gives discretion or gives an excuse to pervert the law to bring them in here?
How do you feel about that one?
I think it's a whole lot of word salad. I think it is a lawless and naked activism from the bench. It looks like we will be bringing this to the Supreme Court. We believe we will be vindicated. Dana, this is a program, temporary protected status, that is designed to be temporary. Haitians were given temporary protected status 15 years ago because of an earthquake. That shouldn't be happening. This can't be de facto amnesty in this program. That's not what it was designed to be. What the Trump administration, what President Trump and Secretary Noem are actually bringing integrity back into the system. And we also have to look at the vast amount of abuses that have happened under TPS. Gang members, known and suspected terrorists, people with rap sheets from their own country, including murder and other heinous crimes, are coming into our country, creating national security crisis. We've got to get back to the basics. We've got to get back to security and bringing in only the best into this country.
Remember that insanity we had to live through? Look at that crap. We had to deal with that for years. They would just come over in waves and they would just process them all in and bring them in, put them on the taxpayer dime, and then we have to pay for that forever because lesbian judge says so. And of course, we got more on this because her order came down and a lot of people are remembering this prior case. Remember that the Supreme Court did already allow TPS to be canceled for the Venezuelans. Remember? Yeah, it happened. On Monday, a while ago, back in May of 25, Supreme Court cleared the way to end the status of hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans on TPS status. It was a brief, unsigned order. Justices left open the possibility that if you are a Venezuelan, you can bring your own claim against whatever, but otherwise, you can cancel these things. Now, Ketanji indicated that she would have denied this, and it was a very short decision. You can see this is what it looked like back in May. The application for a stay is granted. A judge said you cannot cancel TPS status for the Venezuelans. Supreme Court said, yes, you can. So the Haitians aren't any different. They're canceled. The March 31st order entered by the Northern District of California. And this one, I think this was Judge Alsup, so some Clinton-appointed judge out in California, not a historic lesbian, is stayed pending the disposition of the appeal in the Ninth Circuit and more. And then, of course, Judge Jackson would deny it because she loves the illegal aliens. So now with all of that backdrop, we got to go to this judge. Anna C. Reyes, the judge. She issued this 83-page opinion. We're not going to read the whole thing because it's from her, but I'll show you the highlights, and then this will be, of course, appealed. And she's got screenshots, and her whole argument is basically Christie is racist, and there's no valid reason to end or cancel TPS status other than you're a bigot. So here she gives us this quote from George Washington. I hate when these communists quote our founders back at us. They don't know anything about them. America is open, he says, Washington said, America is open to receive not only the opulent and respected stranger, but the oppressed and persecuted of all nations and religions. Did he say illegally? Is that what he meant? Is that foreign invaders can come in and take over the nation and there should be complete lawlessness? I don't think that's what he meant, but she doesn't really care what he meant. She just wants to use him to pervert our founding father. It drives me nuts. More than 2 centuries later, Congress reaffirmed Washington's vision. They passed TPS, called temporary. It provides humanitarian relief to foreign nationals from disaster-stricken countries. Haiti had a disaster 15 years ago. It also brings in revenue. They say it generates $5.2 billion in taxes annually. I don't really care about that because we pay out, they steal billions more. Look at the Somalians. She says, Kristi Noem has a different take. And Kristi Noem said, I just met with the president back on December 1. I am recommending a full travel ban on every damn country that's been flooding our nation with killers, leeches, and entitlement junkies. Oh, let's go. It's like music to my ears. Our forefathers built this nation on blood, sweat, and on the unyielding love of freedom, not for foreign invaders to slaughter our heroes, suck dry our hard-earned tax dollars, or snatch the benefits owed to Americans. We don't want them. Not one. It's true. So says the official responsible for overseeing the TPS program. And one of those damn countries is Haiti. It is a damn country. Relevant here, 3 days before making the post, she said after the post, she's going to terminate TPS status. And so that's the connection. Now, the plaintiffs are here. They're TPS status holders. They're not killers, leeches, or entitlement junkies. Oh, okay. So they bring out these guys. A neuroscientist researching Alzheimer's. Great. He can go do that in Haiti. Do they not have Alzheimer's down there in Haiti? Rudolph Civil is a software engineer at a national bank. Great. He can go do that in Haiti. Do they have money down in Haiti? Maybe. Marlene is a laboratory assistant in a toxicology department. Great. These are all jobs that Americans should have, by the way, not foreign invaders on TPS status. Marcia is a college economics major. Great. They can go study down there. There's economics down in Haiti. Vibram Dorasaniliville is an RN, a registered nurse. That's great. They need nurses in Haiti too. So they claim that Noem's decision violates the Constitution and the APA. These are ridiculous claims. The APA is a catch-all claim. It's invalid most of the time. Basically, you're changing the rules without notifying people. And we have a due process right to know that you're going to change the rules. It's ridiculous. And if they have, basically, if there's no other remedy, then they can bring a claim under the APA. But they just bring the claims under the APA because they don't like the other remedies that are not available to them. So the government says, you don't have jurisdiction over this. You don't get to substitute your judgment for Kristi Noem's judgment. She's homeland, not you, judge. Now, plaintiffs seek a stay, and she issued the order. It's canceled. A judge said, no, it's not. Now they're asking to reverse that. And the court says, I have jurisdiction. I can hear this. And I'm going to determine whether you have an ability to succeed in this. And they say that, no, this is hostility towards non-white immigrants. Okay, so in other words, there's no valid basis to end TPS status. It's all based on racism for non-whites. And by the way, I don't really care where these people come from. If we have a bunch of, I don't know, Englishmen coming over here and stealing our money, stealing our jobs, increasing the cost of living, forcing us to pay for them for housing and all the things, I'd say, go back to England. Get the hell out of here. Go pay for your own crap back home. This seems substantially likely. And I would bet Kristi Noem feels the same. Secretary, because it's about the consequences. It's not about the color of the person's skin, but these people have no other argument, so they have to latch onto this. Noem has terminated every TPS designation to have reached her desk. 12 countries up, 12 countries down. Let's go. And again, this judge is insane, man. This is what you get when you get a lesbian Uruguayan in a position of power. Her conclusion that Haiti, a majority non-white country, she puts that in quotes, faces merely concerning conditions cannot be squared with the humanitarian toll that is actually going down. So again, Kristi Noem can make that decision. She can say, okay, these are humanitarian concerns. These are American concerns. I'm going to make the decision. I'm the Homeland Security person. I've decided accordingly. This judge is substituting her judgment in. Kristi says, it's fine. The earthquake was 15 years ago. Go home. Judge says, no, it's dangerous down there. They do voodoo. She ignored Congress's requirements to review the conditions in Haiti after consulting with appropriate agencies. So she doesn't like how she made the decision. She acted too quickly. Said she did not consult other agencies at all. And her national interest analysis is only on Haitians outside, and she's not analyzing this matter appropriately. Now, the government says that's ridiculous. I have unbounded discretion to make my decision. In fact, the statute, the judge admits, yeah, the statute does grant her some discretion, but not unbounded. In fact, Congress, she writes, passed the statute to standardize this, and you can't replace it at a whim. And they say there's no harm to them. It's all speculative. But then she cites the State Department, right? The State Department said, oh, there's terrorism out there. Says, don't go to Haiti. Okay, it's a mess. Do not travel. Kidnapping, crime, terrorist activity, civil unrest, and limited health care. So we can't send these people back because their country is a disaster. So we have to be the babysitter for every single broken country around the planet. Haiti has been under a state of emergency since 24. Crimes involving firearms are common. Robbery, carjackings, assault, kidnappings, all the things. Don't go there. Okay, if you're an American. If you're a Haitian, that's your home country. Shouldn't you go there? By the way, we have all of this in America. Robbery, carjacking, assault, kidnappings for ransom. In fact, many of that is happening because of the illegal aliens who are here. And so this judge is going to use that as an excuse not to send them back. That's back in July. I'm sure things have gotten a lot better since then. But she says, the government says, don't go there. And now Kristi wants to send them there. So there will be harm. But Kristi said, we don't want them, not one. And we don't. So finally, the balance of the equities favors the Haitians, the neuroscientists. The government does not cite any reason that termination must occur post-haste. They don't need to give you a reason. They don't have to run it by you and get your permission. It's in the law. Noem complains of the strains of immigration. Her answer is to turn 350,000 lawful immigrants, they're not lawful immigrants, into unlawful immigrants overnight. They were given an exploitation opportunity to exploit our laws. They got temporary status temporarily. The bargain has been achieved. It's over. Go home. She complains of strains to her economy, but her answer, turn employed lawful immigrants who contribute billions to become legally unemployable. Again, how much do they bring in versus how much do they take? It's not even close. Her answer, also turn the insured into the uninsured. So this is not in the public interest. It is in America's public interest. Okay, these judges start to then pervert this into becoming like a global interest, like the global public international community that includes Haitians and Guatemalans and El Salvadorans and on and on we go. We care about the American public interest. And so she grants a stay. Obviously, it's a ridiculous decision. Let me share a little bit more, and then we'll get reaction. Before Congress passed this statute, there were concerns about immigrants, and extension is the default, blah, blah, blah. Background on the law. Now, the court bases this on the background record. And remember, back in 2010, 7.0 earthquake, Janet Nappy Napolitano from Arizona, who was our governor, Haitian, she became homeland under Obama. Haitians invaded our country. She, the Democrat under Obama, said, bring them in. Yeah, bring them all in here. And extended it multiple times. Then in 2015, another extension. And then another extension. Then Trump came in. So Trump came in and he referred to Haiti as a shithole, because it is. They're murdering and killing each other down there constantly. Doing voodoo, doing what it's a dump. He also stated in June, that's why we don't want 350,000 of them here. In June 2017, meeting with then secretary, someone else said all Haitians all have AIDS. Wow. Well, that might be a little overbroad. And then they tried to end TPS status back then. But another judge wanted to extend it, and so they extended it, and we fast forward. Now, after public pushback, this is back during the first term, let's fast forward. Saying they kept getting extensions, okay? So Trump extended him, then Biden came in, and then Biden redesignates Haiti for TPS, along with every other friggin' country in the world. Then their president got killed. Then President Jovenel Moise. Then there's a deteriorating crisis, blah, blah, blah. Then Alejandro Mayorkas, a literal traitor to America, redesignated and extended Haiti's TPS status. Then another earthquake hit, and more homes were destroyed. So we have to take over a whole country now. Then Mayorkas further extended and redesignated Haiti. So they had another earthquake. So again, more earthquakes. So in response, again, Mayorkas extended it again and again and again. It's basically de facto amnesty. So then Trump came in. Let's go. Trump hit the campaign trail. Time had not tempered his views on Haiti. During a presidential debate, he said the Haitians are eating dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cats. Era, eat the cats. Remember that song? They're eating the dogs, eating the cats. Eat the cats. Eat the cats. He stated elsewhere that he would absolutely revoke their TPS designation and send them back to their country. Then he came in on January 20th. Boom! Kristi Noem came in January 25th. She immediately took steps to cancel Venezuela. You're gone. And then tried to terminate all the rest of them. She issued a partial vacatur of Mayorkas, the traitor's decision. She purported to shorten Haiti's designation period back, and she shrunk it up. Litigation ensued, a big battle. Then she continued her efforts to terminate. And now we're here. So these are 5 nationals, and they pick like the 5 best Haitians of all. 32 years old. He's got a PhD in California. That's a slot an American should have. This guy has type 1 diabetes, and he can't get treatment down there at all. There's many other countries he can go to. Rudolph is 23 years old. Software engineer. Another job an American can do. Are these jobs Americans don't want to do? That's interesting. She has spinal tuberculosis, and her spinal cord has collapsed. Now it's our problem. They get the most sympathetic plaintiffs they could possibly find. Maybe the only 5 of all 350,000. Like, do we have anybody who's like intelligent? Just keep looking. Yeah, let us know. She received a second spinal fusion, blah, blah, blah. Sob story. I know. America has to be wrecked because of their difficulties. Do you know, by the way, we have Americans here that have spinal problems? You know that? You know, we have Americans here that have type 1 diabetes and need some help with that. So then Trump took action and the litigation continued. And more procedural history. Judge Chen comes in, more decisions. Noem issues another decision. Government responds, giving us a background on the litigation. I have jurisdiction, she says, and we can actually review the case. Now, I'm not stripped of my jurisdiction. Just because it gives her discretion, it doesn't mean that I don't have discretion. Just because the law says Kristi Noem can make these decisions doesn't mean I can also. And so the government says, actually, that's what you're doing. If you bring a claim under the APA and you impact what we're doing here, you're going to the substance of what we're doing. You can't do that. She says, yes, I can. And she's doing it. Says this is very narrow and it doesn't apply to me. The jurisdiction stripping statute, and there's no bar. So I can come in here. And she's from Uruguay, remember. So she's got a soft spot for these illegal aliens. Now, in some, the government cannot bear its heavy burden that TPS statute displaces the strong presumption in favor of judicial review. So she's reviewing Kristi Noem's decision and substituting her decision in for Kristi's. Goes through some more of the statutes and explains how they are working together. And there was one section here where she's basically just saying you're all racist. So let's see if we can find that, where that was. Lots of procedural history and some case law. We like to fast forward through that. You see all of these italics, all cases, all the numbers, all statutes. Let's get to some analysis after we get through the jurisdictional stuff. All right. Then we go into the APA. We go into the governing decisions and their claim. She says the text is unambiguous. That's good. Congress vested Christie with the decision about whether to extend this or not. It goes to her. And that's what she did. Then on Friday, the same day, Homeland staffers were emailing people. And there was an exchange here looking at emails. Oh, yeah. So the judge is doing her own little investigation. So this was it. The full extent of this consultation. She says the law says you have to consult with appropriate agencies. So the judge on her own, sua sponte, the court questioned the lawyers about this. Did you follow that? Did you consult with other people? Judge says, okay, so after reviewing this, were appropriate agencies consulted? Well, Your Honor, so no other agency was consulted. He says no other agency was consulted. Oh, okay, so that's my understanding and that's enough. Was this consultation? What does that mean exactly? Kristi Noem works with everybody all the time. She knows exactly what's going on. She's consulted them since she got in office. So the government says, oh yeah, no, we have email exchanges. I've consulted with them. The statute says the secretary has substantial discretion about the consultation. It doesn't have to be like a meeting for 2 hours in the judge's chambers and the judge approves it and says, wow, this was a great consultation. Great job. Now you can cancel it. No, she's consulted. She knows what's going on and she's made the decision. And yeah, and we continue. This is all about the consultation, the travel advisory. And here is more. More terminations. Look at all these countries. Venezuela gone, Haiti, Afghanistan by, Cameroon, Nepal, Haiti, Nicaragua, Honduras, Venezuela, Syria, South Sudan, Burma, Haiti, Ethiopia, and Somalia. And this is unprecedented. And this is not only speculation, but she is failing to consult with anybody before canceling all these statuses. And this was essentially racism. They were arbitrary and capricious. There was no real basis for her to do this. And the conditions are bad. It runs counter to the evidence. Look at this news release. She's going to give us a whole litany of all the problems down in Haiti. So America is responsible for all of the globe's problems. If they have little unrest down there, we got to take everybody. Goes through a bunch of memos and more. It's a long, annoying decision. Now, what is the national interest? Yeah, what is our national interest? Noem's analysis focuses on people who overstayed their visas. The government is speculating that some people may have overstayed their visas. All right, you get the gist of it. So to recap, she writes, we're turning away 350,000 lawful immigrants overnight. It's going to burden everything. Christie is worried about the burden. This is going to cause the burden. And so therefore, I'm not allowing it to happen. She failed to consider the impact on the economy. She did not account for the $1.3 billion that they pay in taxes. Yeah, but what do they cost? Did she put in the costs in this? Scumbag judge. Another example who just leaves it out. Secretary Noem also failed to analyze the impact on communities. And what happens if they get deported? What's the impact on the workers? And so the judge is just, I'm going to substitute my judgment for you. Equal protection claim. Let's fast forward to the conclusion. Oh, here it is. Yep, racism. Boom. Trump is racist. Trump has made freely at times, even boastfully, several derogatory statements about Haitians and other non-white foreigners. To start, he repeatedly invoked racial tropes of national purity. Can you believe this? He said that illegal immigrants are poisoning the blood of America. And he's dead right about that. Yeah, I mean, if America is a country that's based on liberty and freedom, and we you know, kind of like our culture is, you know, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Don't rely on government handouts. Go and accomplish something good and useful, right? Don't come here and be a recipient of all the social safety nets. And then you see them literally changing the state flag. You see many of them talking about things like Sharia law and setting up alternative systems. They're perverting our elections. They're perverting our housing. They're stealing away from actual American citizens who need those things and who deserve those things and who we want to help with those things. They are poisoning the blood. He's right. So he has complained further that non-white immigration is an invasion. 100% true. They would even admit it. They call it La Reconquista, to reconquer stolen land. They continually call America, all of it, stolen land, creating a dumping ground that is destroying our country. Calling immigrants snakes and garbage who have bad genes. Well, some of them do. Yeah, just look at their foreheads. He also stated that he prefers immigrants from nice, predominantly white countries like Norway, Sweden, Denmark over immigrants from shithole countries. So Trump has also called Haiti a shithole country, suggesting that Haitians probably have AIDS. I would bet many do, and complained that Haitian immigration is like a death wish for our country. He also promoted the false conspiracy theory that Haitian immigrants were eating the pets of people. I think that was pretty well validated. He described Haiti as dirty, filthy, and she really hates this line, shithole country. So like this, you can see, the animosity is just dripping in this decision. So Trump made his preference for whites, the official policy. And on this basis, she's reversing it. Now, the government doesn't defend Trump's statements. They say, well, she says no one rationally could. We just did. Instead, it argues that the Supreme Court's decision prohibits them from considering them. Trump can have whatever reason he wants to do these things. To be sure, the Regents Court found that Trump's statements is derogatory about Hispanics. They're too remote, blah, blah, blah. And so in sum, this is racist, and I can't allow that to happen. So it bears highlighting that Trump also attempted to terminate Haiti the first term, and Trump influenced Christie. So because Trump is a racist, now Christie is a racist too. And so in sum, even Christie has described these people as leeches, entitlement junkies, and foreign invaders who suck us dry. We don't want them, not one. And they're mad about that. So though a closer call, Christie Noem has also expressed animus towards non-white foreigners. So she's racist too. So taken together, this record shows all of this is motivated by racial animus. Okay, it's all racism. The mismatch is unconstitutional. There's irreparable harm. These Haitians are going to go die down there. And so America has to take care of them forever. Serious medical risk for the diabetic guy and spinal tuberculosis lady and this other cousin who has diabetes and needs him here. So we have to just have these people here forever. The government says we need relief. She says, no, you're not going to get it. There's no irreparable harm to keeping them here forever. And so you lose, and sign here by the foreign-born judge from Uruguay, who is a lesbian. Historic. That's why we mentioned that, because it's so historic according to them. And in conclusion, there is an old adage among lawyers. Oh, here we go. If you have the facts on your side, pound the facts. If you have the law on your side, pound the law. If you have neither, pound the table. We say that all the time. Now, in this case, since she doesn't have any facts or law, she just calls everybody a racist. Okay, that's the Democrat alternative. If you have neither, just call everybody racist, and then that works. So, no, the record to date shows do not have the facts on her side or ignored them, does not have the law on her side or ignored them. And so she goes to X and says, we don't want them. Now, she can call them killers, leeches, entitlement junkies, or whatever, but the law says you can't deport them. So she grants this. Of course, they're going to be appealing this to the Supreme Court, and I think she's going to lose this. She's a terrible judge. And this decision will be reversed, I would imagine, very soon. And Bernie Moreno, a senator, he said this from Ohio. When a Democrat president can create a temporary program and then an unelected Democrat judge can foreign-born, unilaterally block a duly elected Republican president from ever undoing it, it's not a democracy at all. It's a rigged system. It's not permanent protected status. This outrageous decision cannot stand. And you also saw that there was a cancellation of TPS status from Cameroon, another country in Africa. And this guy apparently was an illegal alien from Cameroon. And guess what his role was in America? Oh, a police officer. Yeah, he just got picked up by ICE too. So ICE agents arrested this dude called Larry Tama. He's 46. He's from Cameroon. He had been recruited in New Orleans, and their police department even issued him a gun. ICE said that he could not legally possess a weapon. He did not have valid work authorization at all. So is ICE attacking this man and violating his due process? Let's read. According to ICE, he entered the United States illegally in 2015 on a visitor visa. In 2016, he was granted conditional residency because he married a woman who was a citizen. So what happened? Oh, his application for permanent residency was denied in 2022. How come? Fraud. Yeah. Then he was ordered to appear in immigration court 3 times, but he did not appear 3 times. Then an immigration judge removed him in absentia. We paid for every one of those hearings. We had our government lawyers show up at every hearing. He was on the docket, didn't show up. Then an immigration judge ordered him removed in absentia. ICE says he remained in the country illegally. Now he's in custody. And ICE responded, said this illegal alien from Cameroon is not only breaking the law with every step he takes in this country illegally, but the police department hired him and issued him a firearm in New Orleans. What kind of law enforcement department gives criminal illegal aliens guns and badges? It's a felony for illegal aliens to even possess a firearm, said Tricia. Under Trump and Nome, ICE is restoring law and order. Criminal illegal aliens have no place in our communities, especially on our police forces. And they're just basically taking over. And a federal judge may, undo that. Make him the police chief, actually. And you remember this stupid scam from this low IQ congresswoman from Texas? They said that they were whipping the Haitian migrants. Remember this last time? They're still doing that dumb hoax, even though that was completely fake. They lie about everything. George Floyd and Alex Preddy and Renee Good and the Haitian migrants. Here's Crockett full of.
The final point that I typically make is around understanding the root causes of migration. If people will remember, there were a lot of people that said that Vice President Harris was the border czar. And that wasn't really her title, but she was.
It was her title. She went down there and said, do not come. And they came, like 20 million of them.
Some responsibilities as it relates to the border, and it was more so to understand root causes of migration. So the example that I usually use specifically in Texas is when the Haitians showed up at our border, there were these images of officers on horseback that were beating Haitians back into the water. And I was like, no one ever asked the question of why are the Haitians showing up at our border? And I said, if they would have asked that question, they would have found out that their government had been overthrown and that it was gang members that were running their country. And the final.
Okay. So every country that has a governance problem is now our responsibility. Yeah, that's maybe why they're coming here. But the reason why they kept coming here is because we were accepting them. There's a bunch of other countries to go to, by the way, that are not bad. Why didn't they go to any one of the Central American countries? Why didn't they go to Cuba right next door? Many places to go. Why do we have to take them? It's because our stupid politicians want to hollow out America. They do want to poison the blood of the country. They want to make America not so American. They want to change our Minnesota flag into a Somali flag. And they want, as we saw with the people testifying in Arizona, they want illegal aliens to have all the access to democracy that all citizens have. In other words, your citizenship doesn't matter at all. And illegal aliens get all the same benefits and privileges because they want power. It's a sick thing. Todd Blanche was out saying all this is really just covering up for the fraud. They're using the illegals to get votes, to get funding, and to commit fraud and maintain power. They don't really care about illegal aliens. They're not humanitarians. The illegals under Joe Biden were packing themselves into, vehicles and stuff like that. Like the horrors at the border were not humanitarian at all. They were throwing babies in the river.
Here with me is Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Todd, you just heard Jorge Ventura say that they're stopping vehicles. They're asking for IDs if they're affiliated with ICE. Isn't that actively impeding another civil liberties for free association?
Yes, and this is exactly the problem. As he said, and I'm sure it's true, not a local cop in sight. And again, this is what's happening all over Minneapolis. You have this effort by local leadership to just say, we don't care, we're going to let all this happen, and we don't care if ICE officers have their fingers bit off. We don't care if there's protests going on that are actually turned into riots. We don't care about that. And it's horrible, and we've been pounding the pavement. Don't do this. President Trump said, he talked to the governor, he talked to the mayor. Please change your tactics. And we really need them to do that, or we're not going to fix this problem.
Now, these left-wing groups that have formed a kind of unholy alliance, a lot of them have different goals, but they formed an alliance to work together here, to drive ICE out, to change the narrative, to make Trump look bad and you guys look bad. Is there any progress with untangling that funding and exposing it and perhaps prosecuting?
We do have progress, and we have several ongoing investigations. And remember what was happening in December, Laura. We had a massive fraud going on all through Minneapolis, all through Minnesota, and suddenly it turned. It turned almost on a dime, and it became suddenly all about ICE, all about getting ICE out and how horrible ICE was doing.
Yep.
But really what we have here is a massive underground fraud network operating in Minneapolis, and we had a very strong pushback when we raised our hands and said stop. And so, yes, we have multiple investigations going on. We sent prosecutors from Maine Justice. We sent prosecutors from other U.S. attorneys' offices all over the country. And we're making progress every day.
Todd Blanche in the House, and it is about money and votes and power. The illegals are just a convenient proxy to accomplish that. But the administration continues the pressure. And now the SBA is cutting off non-citizens from the primary loan program. Don't know why they were ever even in the program. But the move is going to bar small businesses with any amount of ownership of green card holders from getting an SBA loan. That's great. Because the loan from our government should be for Americans, not foreigners. SBA now issued a new policy guidance requiring 100% of all owners of a small business applying for the loan to be citizens or nationals with principal residences in the U.S. One of the two. The policy, which would be effective March 1, rescinds the previous policy that allowed a loan borrower to have up to 5% of the ownership held by a foreigner. Now, not. We've been too loosey-goosey for a long time. There's a tremendous amount of money missing at the SBA back from the Biden administration and so forth because we got ripped off. Judge Reyes probably didn't include that in her analysis, though. Some options aren't the best. Maybe we need to have one option and grow from there. Other Democrats condemning this. This is stoking the flames of hatred and confusion among immigrants and small business owners. It's not that confusing. If you're not a citizen or a national, you're not getting a loan. It's very simple. Here's the policy. The purpose of this policy, effective March 1, is to advise you of just how simple this is. It's one page. It's not fanning the flames of anything. It's rational policy decision-making. Stop crying because your illegal aliens are not going to get loans from the federal government. We've got new guidance here saying we are protecting the American people against invasion. SBA is now requiring that 100% of all direct or indirect owners are citizens or nationals. You have to have your principal place of business here. Effective March 1, this notice rescinds another policy. There was an exception that you could have 5% ownership, not anymore. Any questions? We don't care. You're not getting a loan. So we're seeing some progress there. And again, it's just like money is just leaving everywhere. SBA loans also missing money under the Joe Biden administration. It's like nonstop. We live in a kleptocracy, and the people who are paying for the theft are us, the citizens. So they're all crying about this, but no, the loans should be for America. SNAP benefits should be for Americans. Housing assistance should be for citizens. Same with education and all of the other benefits. They shouldn't be for illegal aliens who broke our laws, spit in our faces, lecture us about our Constitution, exploit our laws in order to stay here, to continue their theft. We've had enough of it. And like Kristi Noem says, we want them all gone. Not one should stay. All right, my friends, it's been a beautiful stream. If you just joined us, quick recap. We talked about Tulsi Gabbard. She fired off a very nice response back over to Mark Warner and the Democrats. Mark Warner, of course, we refreshed our recollection on what a scammer he is. His chief security person on the Intelligence Committee, pleaded guilty, got 2 months in prison for leaking information about Carter Page to some journo that he was sleeping with in order to rig an administration and create a Russian collusion hoax that would lead to the impeachment of President Trump. That's that guy. Now he's upset that Tulsi was there getting his hands on the records. Okay, they're all scum fraudsters, and Tulsi is not letting up. We're happy to see it. They then tried to create a little smear article about her, like she's a Russian agent or something. She says, I have perfect statutory authority to do all this. Brad Raffensperger is not complying with the Senate request to deliver information over to the DOJ because he says it's illegal, even though the senators say it's not. And we got a bunch of reaction on this. We learned it was all about Carter Page and the original scam. Todd Blanche was out. We had Caroline Leavitt. We had President Trump. Then we talked about the nationalization or the federalization of American elections and how John Thune doesn't want to do that, but he is in favor of voter ID. We saw Johnson talking today. We got votes, whites, Latinos, and to a lesser extent, even the blacks are on board with photo ID to vote. Kamala Harris said, yeah, but they can't photocopy things if they're rural. They can figure it out. There's copy machines in rural locations. John Thune was here. We also heard this was a great segment, I think, from Harmeet Dillon, where she explained what's going on with all the voter roll lawsuits before we turned our attention to the appeal, which will be coming soon. We're going to the Supreme Court because a lesbian, historic lesbian judge who's from Uruguay. Oh, I got it. Yeah, remember yesterday we were reading Judge Breyer, Fred Beery yesterday. We were really confused about, he had at the end of his opinion, a finger in the constitutional dike. Remember that from yesterday? I didn't really know what he was talking about, but it makes sense in today's segment. So we were talking about Anna Reyes and how her decision is basically going to be reversed, I think, by the Supreme Court. She has no discretion to make these things up. Her whole decision, 83 pages, give or take, is all about racism. You're racist because you said some mean things about some other countries or something. And Bernie Moreno says ridiculous. It's temporary. We've got police officers now handing out guns to illegal aliens, committing felonies in the process. Jasmine Crockett is going back to the Haitians, more Todd Blanche, and then we saw the SBA revisions. And it's been a great stream, my friends. But now it's time to hear from you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for subscribing if you haven't already done that, because we're going to come back tomorrow, and it's going to be even better than it was today, if you can believe it. So thanks for joining. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for becoming members. We also do members-only streams in the mornings, and we talk about a bunch of other things that we can't get to here and kind of, let our hair down and have some fun. So thanks for joining us over on Locals, on YouTube, or on Substack. And by the way, thank you for following us on those other platforms. If you're watching on Rumble, thanks for checking out YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for checking out Rumble. Thank you for checking out our Substack, too, because we post synopses of our show over there. They're trying to take us out, man, with copyright strikes, but we're not going to let it happen. Hey, here's one. ICE agents eat at a small-town Mexican restaurant. What's going on there? ICE agents eat at a small-town Mexican restaurant. Mexican food is amazing. Yeah, it's great. It's not that amazing. It's pretty good. A lot of it's kind of the same. It's like you get a taco or burrito or like a quesadilla. It's all kind of like the same thing, just kind of in different versions. But I enjoy it. I love a good breakfast burrito, especially. So I think they can eat at Mexican restaurants. Hopefully they weren't illegal aliens. Thumbs down. What a strange person. Is that a Monty Python thing? All right, well, I'm not going to get into that today because, I think I might lose if we do. Muffin Rando, ICE agents celebrate Taco Tuesday, libs freak. Oh, is that what that was? Are there not citizen Mexicans? Are there no Mexicans who are citizens that make Mexican food? Is it all illegal alien Mexican food? Can they go and have dinner at a restaurant of Mexican food that is prepared by Americans, citizens? I'm not sure. Muffin Rando, good to see you. Yeah, they freak. Joel Ruhlman, what's up? Hey, TPUSA Super Bowl halftime show only. Yeah, I saw that. So I think Kid Rock and some others are going to be doing a Turning Point alternative halftime show because they're bringing in that other weird dude that I know nothing about. He's like a bunny or something. Is that what's going on? Rubos, Rob. Hey, the Rubos sent a great prayer. I was a little bit, nervous today about that copyright strike because it was a strike, not a claim. And I thought, oh, great. And they hit us with 2 videos on that. So, you can see how that can escalate into 3. I got it resolved. I spent the morning, talking to them about it. So it's resolved. But thank you to the Rubos for praying for us and for making sure that we can keep our channel nice and sparkling clean. Rubos, Rob, the highest court of the kingdom of God, we prayed, has never failed. Thank you for the update. God is good. Victory, victory, victory. Glory to God. Hallelujah. Amen. Yeah, thank you for that, the Rubos. Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking. When your channel's under threat, you're just like, all right, it's not good. Because bad things can happen. Like these things are AI automated. You get strike, channel canceled. You're done. Oh, all right. That's not good. So we got it figured out. Thank you, Rubos, and thanks for the prayers and the good thoughts. I was a little distracted this morning. I apologize for that. We're in the middle of the morning stream, and my phone lights up. Copyright strike. I'm like, what the hell? It was the Alex Preddy video. So it's interesting, man. There are these companies out there that they go around and they buy up social media content rights, and then they strike you after the fact. So it's a company. They gobble up the videos. They reach out to the people, ask them if they'll sell them the license. You've already talked about it like a week ago. And then they buy the license. They go around and they just troll your channels and strike you. So if you're covering the Alex Preddy stuff, be cautious. Chubby. Hey, man, hopefully the emergency has been resolved. Missed the morning stream because of an emergency. Just listening for now. Waiting for a call from vet. Wally, our son's seizure alert dog, had a huge tumor on his spleen that caused it to start to rupture. Oh, my goodness. Had emergency surgery, removed the tumor in spleen, but also had to take 2 liters of blood out of your pup. Was in transfusion last we heard. Vet's supposed to call with update. Prayers and positive thoughts and vibes appreciated. Yeah, prayers up for it, man, for your service boy out there. Terrible. Man's best friend, and sounds like a real good pup for your boy or for your son. Yeah. Prayers up for Chubby's pup. May he heal immediately, return home, and he'll be chasing that ball in no time. Rick D. Hey, yeah, man, this was a wild story too. Per NBC News, says Rick D, sent this from an airplane, out of an airplane. Jill Biden's first husband has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder in the death of his wife. What? Yeah, I saw that headline. I didn't realize he got charged with first-degree murder, though. Wow. Yeah, so that's not good. So Jill Biden's ex-husband murdered his wife. Wild, allegedly. Chubby, thank you, Rick. Chubby, so, okay, Ketanji was nominated to SCOTUS as a quid pro quo question? Yeah, maybe. She gave that guy a very light sentence, and they're like, yeah, we'll nominate her. Explains her general lack of knowledge, as well as why she was filmed participating in a standing ovation for an anti-ICE speech at the Grammys. She should be impeached. I didn't see that clip. She stood for an anti-ICE speech. She's like Fannie Willis, honestly. I can expect to see, I don't know, she's married to a white guy, so I don't think it's going to be like a Nathan Wade situation. But she wants to be like Biggie Smalls, she like with the coats and the fanfare and go to the Grammys and like go on Broadway. She's like, she wants to be a celebrity like Fanny. She'll probably walk in with a giant white fur coat. Live in Grace. Hey, what's up, Live in Grace? Good to see you. Looks like a new name out there. All of our data has been sold since unconstitutional Obamacare. Yeah, I believe that for sure. Yeah. I mean, our data is just been gobbled up. Officially from the government, who'd they sell it to? They gave it to the insurance companies. Thank you, Living Grace. Thanks for the dono. Thanks for watching over on YouTube as well. We appreciate you. Happy Tuesday. Hey, Rick D. The feds don't need a state law. The federal election law requires them to turn over if the government requests them. Yeah, we've covered the lawsuits. A law that Clinton signed into law after a Democrat Congress passed it, I might add. Good details there, Rick. I did not know that. So is that HAVA and the NVRA and those things? Yeah, why should the feds honor a state that is sending rigged candidates into Congress? You shouldn't. Robbie Kusienski, what's up? Hey, can we get rid of Ketanji if the election was stolen? Yeah, I mean, that's like the $1 million question. What do you do? If Joe Biden's entire presidency was illegitimate, what do you do about that? Also, Ketanji, I think, was an auto pen, right? So maybe you've got two attack vectors. Joe Biden's entire presidency was invalid, in which case Trump should reverse everything, automatically and just say everything he did is just invalid. And we can flesh that out. But I also think it was the auto pen, right? I think she was an auto pen nominee. So there's two attack vectors there. Hey, 26 months as a membo, Robbie. Good to have you here. Thanks for being here and joining us. I grew up being called Robbie. It's a good name. Remember when, Robbie, do you remember when, remember that comedian? What was his name? Dane Cook. There was a comedian, Dane Cook, and he had a special out. And he's like, you guys remember grade school, like when you had all those weird kids with you? He's like, and you had that one kid who just like really kind of stunk. Just stunk everywhere he went. Remember? Robbie, something like that. I was like, oh, you suck. I smell great. Rick D says 52 U.S. Code 20703 demands for record and papers by the AG. Any record or paper required by this shall be delivered to the AG once demanded. And yep, we've seen it. And that's what Harmeet is basically filing on. She said the AG demanded it. They're saying, nope, you can't have it. We say we got federal law, NVRA and HAVA. But they're worried about their social security numbers. Hey, Cecil says, what's up, Cecil? Thanks for raiding our stream. Good to have you here. Welcome aboard. Cecil says, friends in the house. Grateful to have you here. Dan, the EIRC system is turned over that exact same information from Georgia. In other words, they've already given this all to some other agency. It's not even a government agency. The EIRC gets it all. So why can't they give it to the feds, Dan? I think that's your point. It's a good one to make. Ooh, is this Trinal Galaxy? Woo. Yeah, I was watching this GIF the other day of the Milky Way galaxy, and it kind of like it's moving through space at like, I don't know, 600 kilometers an hour or whatever it is, like the whole galaxy. And it kind of looks like, as it moves, like one of those stingrays, you see in the whole galaxy moves that way. It's wild. We don't know anything. Billions Haitians TPS holders contribute to the economy. AKA, who will pick our cotton if not for the slaves? The party of slavery. Oh, yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I absolutely agree with that. They say they'll do the jobs Americans won't do. Okay, so you want to bring in like a pseudo class of people to do menial labor because you're too good for that. So it's like a slave, but not really. You want them to exist in this amorphous status with none of the privileges of being an American. Yeah, and what was that? Haitian. I think it was Haitian. Let me just look. Let me see if I can find this like with one search or two. And yep, got it. Man, shout out to Amuse. Here's the clip. Flashback. Democrats like Brooklyn resident called Lisa Beasley miss the good old days when they were able to keep house slaves. Lisa kept a Haitian migrant in her home as her personal chef. Oh, I should have played this in the clip. Here, she's like, wow, it's so great to have her here. She does all my food and cleaning and laundry.
And it's really fun having them. What I realized is there's so much prejudice against refugees, mostly because people don't know them.
Lisa says she feels like she has her own personal chef, as Wildande loves cooking. Te gusta?
Yeah, just cook and clean and take the trash out, make the bed. I'm such a good person. Yeah. E. Texley, what's up? Here's the link to the courtroom video of DeKalb County versus Raffensperger. The case was brought in an effort to be able to get rid of the voting machines, or at least to secure them. Good expert witness testimony. Remember Scott McAfee, the judge who didn't disqualify Fani Willis, even though her noxious odor and appearance of impropriety permeated the entire country? Yeah, Trino Galaxy, good to see you. How dare temporary actually be temporary? Well, they say temporary to make everybody feel better, but they never wanted it to be temporary. It's just like when a man says he's a woman and he's not, it's like we all know it's a man. He thinks it's a woman. They use the woman label to try to scam you and connive you into that. Same thing here. It's like, no, it's temporary. It's like, no, we can see it's permanent. We know what you're doing. We can see the permanency dangling between your legs. Rick D. DC Judge Sparkle Sukanan, that is her name. She also ruled that TPS for Haitians cannot be allowed to lapse. So another one from Sparkle Sukanan. She's also out of DC, right? Yeah. Hey, Chubby, no valid reason to end temporary protected status. How about 15 years is a reason? Yeah, and then you could see what the judge was doing. Well, there was another earthquake in 2023, and there's another earthquake, and there's another earthquake. So it's temporary forever. King of Biltong, BiltongUSA.com, one of the highest protein snacks in the world. Have you had some? Over 50% protein, packed with B vitamins, creatine, iron, zinc, and more. Use code Robert over there at BiltongUSA.com, and you'll save 10% off. Thank you, King of Biltong. Jesser Bob. Yeah, the alleged water main break in Fulton County. Yeah, alleged water main break. And I didn't look that up yesterday, but somebody was saying that there wasn't actually a water main break. And it's like, it's valid. Like, okay, well, what was the damage? What did it cost to repair all the water damage? How come you couldn't just switch off the shutoff valve? Jay Marino, my wife always consults with me what she has decided to do, about what she has decided to do. Can I get an injunction against your wife? Yeah, you could. I'm sure you could probably go get one. It might be the end of your marriage if you're okay with that, but it probably is possible. Hey, Cackly, what's up? 808 Cackly in the house. Thank you for supporting us and becoming a member. We'll see you tomorrow on the members only morning stream. We have a lot of fun. Thank you, Cackly. Former, I have the perfect solution for irrational judges. 3 strikes and you're out. You get overturned 3 times. Find a new job. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It would also be good if we just had Congress people with some cojones, but we don't. G-Men, you stop my vehicle and block my truck with a car. That is false imprisonment, and you will 100% face the consequences from G-Men. Not legal advice. Consult a local attorney on that one. But yeah, these people think that they can, obstruct your life and basically harass you and stalk you, and that there's no repercussions for that. Depends where you are. In some places, you might get away with that. If you're in Minnesota, you're probably going to prison. John McGarvey, I hope I'm wrong, but Todd Blanche gives me major Rod Rosenstein vibes in a bad way from John. Yeah, I know. I mean, Todd, I think, has some credibility because he was by Trump's side for a long time. I mean, he fought hard for him in the multiple cases, actually, multiple criminal defense cases. So I think there's proof of work of Todd that he's a fighter and he takes tough cases and he's been very loyal to the president. But then we hear other reports about Todd. And we read the story this morning on the members only stream that maybe Todd was responsible for the exit of weaponization committee. We literally just talked about it. I'm blanking on the name. But he was being exited this morning. And let me see if I can find... What was his name? I need an assist on that. His name, Ed Martin. Got it. Ed Martin was being thrown out. And apparently that story that we read this morning, I think it was from CNN, said that Todd Blanche, Martin, thank you. Ed Martin was because of Todd Blanche. And then I've also read stories that Todd and Pam were unified in not charging Comey and Tish. And that is what prompted Trump's Truth Social that was castigating Pam, which we remember. Trump came out, Pam, what the hell's going on over there? Then that kind of shook things up. Then they fired their Virginia attorney, put in Lindsay Halligan, but only because of Trump, not because that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So I have concerns about that. And honestly, the DOJ has done some good work and they've done some really pretty bad work. And they've made certain, I think, decisions about going certain places that you ask why that is. Then you see the images of Todd Blanche having lunch with Caitlin Collins, and you go, I don't like that. Not a Fed. Sure would be a shame if all these amazing people took everything they learned in America and made Haiti great again. Yeah. If they're so valuable to America and they pay so many taxes, they're highly productive people, and they should build up their own countries, just like we're trying to do here for our country. G-Man, tonight's show actually gave me a physical reaction and it legit angered me. Obviously not your fault, Rob. It's all the BS we went over. Yeah. Yeah, which ones? I mean, the third segment was probably the most frustrating because of was it the Reyes decision? Like Tulsi's, like the first segment I thought was good. Tulsi was, Tulsi's fighting in Fulton, which is good. Second one was about, what the heck did we just talk about? Oh yeah, nationalizing the elections, all the fraud. So what was it? Was it that third segment? I know. It is irritating. Channel that rage into something useful, That's all I can suggest. But it is enraging. We have to turn that into fruitful activity. Yeah, the third one, says G-Man, yeah. I agree with you, man. And the fact, it's just annoying. Like, these people are annoying when you can articulate 83 pages of just nonsense and then call that a legal opinion. And the Republicans are like, well, whatever they're doing over there, we're going to defund Homeland. You're going, oh, okay. Rubos. Hey, why didn't the Haitian refugees seek refuge in the Dominican Republic? Oh, great question. Right next door. Just walk across the border. Oh, your country's failed in governance? Oh, there's murder and kidnapping? Go over next door. We don't, you have to get on a boat to come over here. Hey, what's going on? I want to see you and Andrew Branca doing a law collab. Man, shout out to Andrew Branca. We've talked before. I don't think we talked on Legal Mindsets channel a while back. But man, Andrew's great, man. I love his content. He does great stuff. He was very, I think, helpful in the Alex Preddy conversation. Very helpful. I saw him doing stings all over the place. It's great. Get that message out there. Shout out to Andrew Branca. He's another attorney right on YouTube. Very, very smart dude. We appreciate his work. We would be happy to. I don't know what we would talk about. But thank you for the suggestion, World Radio. We appreciate that one. And shout out to Andrew. Hey, I don't know why people are so worried about ICE agents. They don't care a car smells like weed, a driver's license expired, if someone has warrants. They just care if you're an illegal alien. Yeah, and the people who care want them to not care about the illegal aliens. Like, that's the problem. They're not mad at ICE because, like, ICE is citing them for speeding. The illegals are getting deported, and they're Democrats. They don't want that to happen. Not a Fed. Hey, Jill's ex-husband probably thought, why not? Joe and Jill got away with it, and he became the resident. Oh, like when Joe's wife died? Is that what you're saying? Not a Fed? I don't know what's going on. Jill has an interesting taste in men, it sounds like. G-Gum, you have a dozen, you two, will ya? Just have a dozen, you two, will ya? Oh, a dozen babies? Oh my goodness. We'll make it a baker's dozen. Boy or girl, doesn't matter. Oh, it's a gift of a girl. G-Gum. All right, it's either going to be a boy or a girl. Look at that friggin' haircut, that young boy. Man, sharp, nice fade, nice part. Coming soon. We don't know what it's going to be, boy or girl. And we'll have to, I don't know, take a poll. But man, there's cute little babies over there. I'm excited. That makes me even more excited. Thank you, G-Gum. How fun is that? I appreciate it. We're looking forward to it. Coming soon, July 26. Hey, what's happening over here? We've got LZ in the house. Says, if states don't send their voter rolls, then their electoral votes won't be counted. Neither will their senators or congressional reps who can vote. And I'm going to save that one too. Make sure I remember that. If states don't send their voter rolls, then their electoral votes won't be counted. Neither will their senators or congressional reps can vote. Yeah, and then I think, you just disqualify a state. Ooh, yeah, what happens? Fractured civil war. Dan says, bucket and mop. Solve the issues at the State Farm Arena. Solved in 30 minutes. That's all it was. CNN member. Oh, no. Water main break. So I won't find the results out tonight. He's like, I know. It's pretty exciting, isn't it? Dan, thank you for that. Former says, July is a busy month for my family. My birthday. See, our family's in September. We got like late August, early September birthdays, like a bunch of New Year's babies. Blah, blah, blah. My birthday, July 9th, oldest daughter, July 6th, older bro, July 7th, my mom's July 4th. The only thing that makes any sense is the change of seasons. When you forget to close the windows and the first cold snap hits in October. Is that what was happening? Wow. So we were getting a little bit chilly and we were canoodling. Is that how it happened? As a side note, to the entire world, I am known as Bob, except every relative I have calls me Robert. Sad. Just sad. Well, they're both good names. Robert is like, that's what I got called when I was in trouble. Normally it was Rob or Robs. My mom called me Robs with an S on it. My friends called me Berto, a lot of them, like for Roberto. I'm not Mexican or Hispanic at all, but they called me Berto. But my mom would say, Robert! Like, I'm going to jail. Interactions with mom, what's up? Hey, thank you for your hard work and dedication to excellence. Thank you. Interactions with mom, man. Shout out. We are dedicated to excellence here. Dang it. We appreciate it. Thank you, Interactions with Mom. Very nice, Dono. Appreciate you being here. Former says, did you see the high school student during the protest riot run out into the street to get in front of the vehicle to prevent its legal travel? She got run over? I didn't see that, no. Hopefully she's okay. Learns her lesson. Gets back on her feet and realizes not ideal to jump in front of moving vehicles. Hey, one old guy, what's up? What is absolutely stupid about the Georgia Secretary of State Raffensperger is the fact that the U.S. government already has all the SSNs and the DOBs all connected to the vote. They are not sharing anything that the U.S. government doesn't already have. U.S. government issued the numbers. They're losers. You're right about that one, old guy. And I think it's really just a fake excuse, right? It's a fake because. Oh, no, I can't have the records delivered because Social Security numbers. Yeah, Georgia law. The truth is he doesn't want you to find out how he was involved in rigging the election. And then in the aftermath, perverting your attempt at recourse. They steal it. Trump sues. Then he sides with the thieves. We all have to suffer the consequences of 4 years of Biden. Dan, bathroom issue at State Farm was identified prior to 6 a.m. It was resolved prior to the beginning of Election Day, tabulation by mail on absentee and ballot processing. Oh, interesting. So CNN was just lying to us in that report. Sounds about right. Not a surprise at all. Thank you, Dan, for the details on that. We got some locals comments, I see. Ooh, what's going on? Oh, Elliot, Doc Master's in the house. Says oral argument is tomorrow. Yeah, so Trump is still battling versus Alvin Bragg, the New York City prosecutor who brought the 34 counts of business records, felonies, fake case, again. We've got oral arguments February 4th. Amazing. Thank you, Doc Master Elliot. So Trump is still trying to get those felonies thrown out, essentially. He's trying to take that case, remove it up into federal court, where he'll have a much fairer shake than he had with Judge Juan the Con Mercan, whose daughter was working for Democrats, who also the judge donated to Joe Biden and to Democrat organizations, and then said and then gagged Trump and then called the whole trial fair after they brought in convicted liar, convicted perjurer Michael Cohen to testify. Hey, Trump signed a bill to end the partial government shutdown. That sounds like good news, I guess. So government marches on. Thank you, Dan. Tweak, hey, late, but congrats, Rob and Alexis. Very happy for you. Thank you, Tweak. Good to see you. Yeah, been a little while. Nice to see you back. And we appreciate that. Yeah, very nice of you to say that. Baby coming soon. Crazy, KPM. All problems have a simple solution. It's simply take down the Patriot Act and its police state institutions and read the Constitution from left to right, top to bottom, and follow the law like people with wisdom and ethics. Sounds very simple, crazy KPM. It's easier to do that when you have a country that's values aligned. But we used to have that. Now a lot of it's been perverted. Hey, Dan. Great comment, Dan. Thank you for sending that in. I think you sent that in as a dono as well. We appreciate you, Dan. Thanks for the details today. Hey, Sergeant Bob says the painful replay you aired of Kamala the Cackler essentially said, there are so many people in rural America that are wearing bib overalls, chewing on a weed, barefoot, ignorant, and unable to embrace the technical aspects of a copy machine or a computer printer because they fell off the turnip truck. Yeah, no, the only people in America who are smart and can use a copy machine are people in Los Angeles and people in New York City. And everybody who's not in New York City is a moron. And we don't need election integrity because of the rurals. Sugar britches. Are you kidding right now? Are you kidding me? Sugar Britches is a father of 9 girls. 9. All girls. Is that like a record? Age 29 to 3. That's insane. I have felt convicted by the Spirit to share some wisdom since you announced your family's miracle. Man, I appreciate that. I need a lot of it. As a new father, always look at how God has loved you and love your children the same. Give grace at all times. Love with mercy in your heart. Your child will always look to you for strength and guidance. If you model being a father around the blueprint that God has shown to you, you cannot fail. You will be tried and tested, and you will likely make many mistakes. But if your fatherly foundation is built from God's example, your child will thrive and become a beautiful example of God's everlasting love. It's hard, but worth every second. Congrats to you both. Sugar, man, that hit hard. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I'm very appreciative of that because I know, there's things that there's things that you don't know, and then there's the things that you don't know. And I think, in this chapter of my life, we're going to be fully implanted in that third category. A bunch of things I don't know that I need to know. So yeah, that's very valuable. And, we think about this a lot, even in our marriage and our relationship. And, we both have something that, we can be unified in, and there's a higher purpose for the marriage, right? It's not about me and it's not just about her. So I think it's going to, this concept is going to fit in nicely with how we're already, trying to live, but I know it's a practice. I know there's a lot of work, and I know that I'm going to learn a lot. So Suga, I'm super happy that you're here in our community. Thank you for that. 9 girls. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. Like, what is the record on that? How many people have had, first of all, it's a lot of kids, but to have them all, like, it's wild. My mom had 3 boys. So she's like, I really want a girl. She didn't say this, but she's like, a girl granddaughter might be kind of nice. That's amazing. Suga, you're awesome. Congrats to your family. You sound like an amazing father, and shout out to your amazing wife and all your girls, all 9 of them. Just wild. Thank you for being here. Really, that was a great comment. Hey, C. Reed, I think this explains everything. A little YouTube video of Pentagon. Yeah, pretty sure it's a Pentagon. Thank you, C. Reed. Says, good comment from Crazy KPM. We won't talk in broad, strokes like that, but we want all Americans to be aligned in, American values, that regardless of your color, regardless of your race, regardless of your religion, we should be aligned. Otherwise, America's maybe not right for you. Sergeant Bob, Bob versus Rob. Should I just be Sergeant Rob? No, Sergeant Bob is you, 100%. You are Sergeant Bob. That's like real. That's real. So Sergeant Bob is who you are. It fits. You can just tell. You just look at you. Oh, that's Sergeant Bob over there. Hey, good to see you. Thank you, Sergeant Bob. Yeah, here's the story. Hey, amazing. We got some great comments. Thank you, Swap Part LLC. Good to see you. Thank you for the nice dono. Add this to the baby fund. Congratulations. We will. Sweet Part LLC. Super nice of you. Thank you for that. We definitely will. And when do you start buying those things? So by the way, we're not going to know if it's a boy or girl till that little baby just emerges. Then I guess we'll have to start buying things, I guess. I don't know how it's going to work. Swap Part, thank you for that. Really generous. Very nice of you. It's going to go to good use. We appreciate it. I'm in my prime, says that guy. 100% he is. It gets better every year. One old guy. Georgia officials are afraid that there will be many votes registered under the same Social Security numbers and the DOBs. They're going to be further up Schitt's Creek than they already are. That's a TV show, not a profane word. Yep, that's right. And we saw this with the other senator, his name, I think Dolezal, Senator Dolezal, on X, who went around. We released a video on this on Sunday. If you missed it, it wasn't live. But yeah, he released a full video, this one, where he's walking around and he's just showing you that at the UPS store, they're registered to vote, 79 voters over there. He goes to this homeless shelter, another 100 votes over there. He goes to this place over here. It's called physicaladdress.com. Oh, what's going on there? Voter registrations are happening there. Goes around to these other places, homeless shelters, blah, blah, blah. Homeless shelter. Boom. More illegal registrations there, right over there. No one's there. It's closed in 2017, but tons of registrations come out of there. He goes over here, another UPS store. It's just fraud. It's just fraud everywhere. So, yeah, thank you for that one. One old guy, not a Fed, says Jill's ex claims she met Joe in 1972 working on his campaign. Biden's wife died in 1972. She started taking care of her future stepkids. He started suspecting an affair in 74, and the Joe and Jill love story just does not add up. Yeah. Yeah, and I was thinking Joe's wife, how did she die? Was it cancer? Kennedy, remember Kennedy and like Mary Jo Kopechne or whatever? Like died in that car accident. They covered the whole thing up. Yeah. Hey, one old guy. Cackling Comrade Kamala, a.k.a. KKK. Remember that? Yeah, I do remember that. That's basically what she was. Hey, Jay Marino, I want to go to a casino with sugar britches. Does that translate? Does like 9 daughters translate into like 9 blackjacks or something? Maybe. Yeah, Dan says in Georgia, you can't register to vote at any place that you don't live at, your residence. Yeah, he talks about that in that video. And that's exactly what they were doing. They were registering at UPS stores. Those are illegal. The county knows about those. They all got ballots anyways, and they all voted. Not all of them, but you get the point. So it's a scam. It needs to be rooted out. This country deserves free and fair elections, and we're going to continue on this until we get them. Dang it. All right, my friends. Been a beautiful stream. Let's say hello to a couple comments on X. Then we'll wrap it up on the day. Yeah, Darby Shaw says you have to have an ID to buy spray paint, for crying out loud. Yeah. Pretty simple. I don't understand why the leader of the executive branch is doing his job, says John Cobb. I don't understand. Yeah. Why is Trump talking to Tulsi Gabbard? I don't know. Because he's the president and she's the DNI and they're running the country. Thank you, John. I know they're idiots. Hey, Betsy, voter rolls in the South are very different. Our heritage is a reckoning with the Lord himself. From Johnny Cash. Did you vote for this? Johnny Cash was pretty great, man. That's awesome. Thank you, Betsy Gaines, for that. We got Jody. Rob, congratulations on the upcoming bundle of joy. And Libs can't call me a racist because I hate everyone equally. God bless the Watcher family. That's one way to do it. One way to do it. Yeah, and as I said, if we had a bunch of Englishmen coming in here and like ripping us off and changing our flags, stealing billions of dollars and all the things, but go back to England. It's not happening currently. It's the damn Haitians and the others. All right, my friends, what a beautiful stream it has been. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for joining us. Couple from Dan and Rick coming skidding in here. Oh, she did die in an automobile accident. I didn't know that. Yeah. Joe Biden's first wife died in an automobile accident. Ran the station wagon into an 18-wheeler. Ugh, really? That's horrific. That's not good. Yeah, that's not good. Hey, Rick D. Darby Shaw. Wasn't that the name of Julia Roberts' character in the Pelican Brief? It's a good question, Rick D. Never saw it. I didn't watch a lot of those like legal shows coming up. There was another one. What's the one with like Marissa Tomei? Never seen that one either. I think it's because I'm a lawyer. I was like, all right. I don't watch a lot of legal shows. I don't think I do. Like I watched a little bit of like Suits. I'm like, ridiculous. Anyone like, are they any good? There's some fun ones. Like some of the movies are pretty good. The legal movies. Like what was the one, Presumed Innocent? I think that was pretty good. You know, it's like a series. I'm like, okay, like you kind of have to suspend disbelief a little bit. I'm like, all right, that's kind of exciting. Yeah, car accident, man. That's terrible. Just like the Kennedy situation. That's okay, interesting. But he lost his infant daughter too. Joe and Jill claimed to have met in 1975 on a blind date. Yeah, Naomi Biden, first wife, tragically taken in a car crash. That's terrible, man. Yeah, it's terrible. So thank you, Rick. Thank you, Not a Fed. So is their timeline off? That's pretty curious. And why did that guy kill his wife, allegedly? I don't know. Keep our eye on that one, too. Strange things are happening. Corn Pop was a bad dude, says Quell. No doubt about it. corn pop with like the kids running their hands up his leg. Remember that? Highway Dog, good to see you. Neuro D, J-Ma, we got Red Pill Fight Club over on Rumble. What's up, Bagel Boy, Dog Diggers over there? Left Coaster X, nice to see you. Got some friend. Dan's over there. Nice to see you, Dan. Skeersall, good friends over on Rumble. Thanks for watching over there. And YouTube friends, thank you for watching over there. Thank you for subscribing wherever you're watching this if you haven't done that already. Glenn Croy, what's up, K Bean? Ted Mitchell. United We Stand, Jenny Owens, very nice to see you. Shane Souza, Jefferson Einstein in the house. My Cousin Vinny, one of the best movies ever, says Brenda. I don't think I've seen that one. So I watch illegal shows? I don't know, I guess so. If they're not legal shows, then they might be illegal shows. My Cousin Vinny, right? Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one. But I remember it from Seinfeld because George Costanza was trying to, I think, date Marissa Tomei. That's how I know about it. Good stuff. Nice to see you, Glenn. Just sit there and do that in front of your own family, says Share Bear. Great comments. All right, so my friends, we'll leave it here. We had a great and beautiful stream. Shout outs to Londo, G-Men. We've got, where's my locals at? I saw Boopsy in the house. John Allen, what's up, John? Nice to see you. Over there on the locals, Boopsy's there. Londo, G-Gum, G-Men, Rick D, what's up? Rose for Life, nice to see you. Quell, of course. Turbo. What a beautiful day. Nice to see everybody. All right, so my friends, lovely Tuesday. We're going to have a great week ahead. We've got a lot more coming up tomorrow, so we'll be back to get into it again. Before we wrap, I want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths on the day. Hey, Chad Brumette. Thank you, Chad. 2 babies, Chad. Chad Brumette. 18 months as a membo. Says, great stream as always. Congrats to you. Thank you, Chad. Very nice of you to say that. Thanks for being here 2 full terms. It's 2 babies, man. It's a long time. It goes fast, though, as I'm finding out. Thank you, Chad. Swap part. You need ID to buy cigarettes, alcohol, cash, a check, or get welfare. You need it for everything. You need it to exist. The only place you don't need it, according to our stupid representatives, is elections. Totally ridiculous. Thank you for that, Donos, getting that in there, swap part, and for the nice ones before. Very much appreciate it. And thanks for being a membo, too. What a lovely day. Thank you, Jenny Owens, for the compliment. The Yummy brand. Good to see you. Good to see you. The Yummy brand. Good to see you. Thank you for that comment. All right, so we'll pause here for the night. It's been a beautiful day. We'll come back tomorrow. We're going to get into it again. But before we do, we want to thank you for being here. Want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths. Big shout out to Donut Mind Me in the house. Rick says you should watch The Pelican Brief. It's more of a mystery thriller than a legal show. Maybe I will. Thank you, Rick, for the recommendation. Definitely appreciate it. Okay, so big shout outs to Donut Mind Me. We got Muffin Rando, John in the house. Thank you to K Bean, to Carrie B, modding the fort down for us. Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger over on the Rumbles, Geegum Geegum for the great meme, which I'll be saving today and sharing with my beautiful pregnant wife. And Elliot and Just Rhonda, all modding the fort down for us, keeping things nice and orderly around here. But we'll pause for the night. Of course, we're coming back tomorrow. Members in the morning, hopefully you join us and we see you there. But otherwise, we'll be back to get into it again tomorrow afternoon. And in order to do this whole thing appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through the scripted ruse. Together we are watching the watchers shine in the light. Watching the watchers defending what's right. Watching the watchers stay each night together.